Going live for the second time. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 217, take 2. Okay, hopefully it's fixed this time. Get the music off.
Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 217, take 2. Okay, hopefully it's fixed this time.
Who's doing that? We got feedback. Oh, that's why you need the headset. You can't listen to me. We're gonna get echoes.
It's okay.
I don't know if it is, mate.
I can't put that headset on.
I might echo a bit. We'll get there. Doesn't seem to be lagging. But the live stream's way behind. Alien Grey?
Dogman.
Going down to the underground base. Yeah, good to be back. Take 2. Okay, let's see if we can have some fun this time without any technical problems. I don't know where the problems come from, but it must have been that plugin and some updates. Something kicked in. So pause that, switch screen, because I'm a wee bit brain dead now, trying troubleshooting it. Yeah, I think it's all working, and Robert has to take his headphones off this time, so he might be a bit echoey. We'll see how it goes. Let us know about the audio out there. Oh, guess what? I forgot my magnifier, so I can't actually zoom in. So there's always something I forgot. It should be working now. My super zoom. Well, that thing's a lot faster. Oh yeah, might have it fixed now. I think I got a lot more grey hair now. Well, we can always do it better than what we did the first time anyway. Looks like the edges got clipped off there. Stupid. That's really stupid. What does this? UFOs and engines. Vehicles.
Vehicle interference.
I'll just say interference. I'm too stressed.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, should have made it so it lines up there. Oh right, there we go. Just made it a wee bit bigger, I think. And that's what the add-on helped to sort out the font sizes. Okay, so we're back to Loch Raven Dam. So we'll just read it out. Start again. Where is Loch Raven Dam? I'll look it up on the map this time.
The Loch Raven Dam Incident, 1958.
Okay. out there.
Baltimore, Maryland.
You got a bit of echo there now. We'll see if people can understand you without the headset. You could always just plug a normal headset in. If you got it, that would solve it probably.
I haven't, Paul.
On October the 26th, 1958 at 10:30 p.m., near the Loch Raven Dam, north of Baltimore, Maryland, two men were traveling in a car. As they approached a bridge, they saw what appeared to be a flattened out, egg-shaped object hovering approximately 100-150 feet from the top of the bridge. Slowing their vehicle to get a better look, they approached to about 75 foot from the bridge. Suddenly, their car went completely dead. The two men stated that it was like they just cut the key off. Nothing electrical worked. The driver attempted to restart the engine, but to no avail. The object and the malfunction of their vehicle frightened the men to the point that they hid behind their car. They were able to closely watch the UFO for 30-45 seconds. All at once, the object flashed a white light, causing the two witnesses to feel heat on their faces. The flash was accompanied by a loud sound, like thunder. The UFO now began to slowly rise straight up. It was extremely bright as it did, causing the edge of the object to be fuzzy. Within 5-10 seconds, the object was out of sight. The men were then able to restart their car and rush to the nearest phone to report their sighting. The Ground Observer Corporation was contacted first, but did not respond. The men then talked to the Towson Police Department, which sent 2 patrolmen to the scene.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where this dam was.
Yeah, but just to recap on that while you're looking, the two guys were so scared, they had to leave the car and hide behind it. And, that UFO was in damn close proximity there. It was 75 feet, they believed, yeah?
Yep. Well, there's a bridge. But I can't see where the dam is. Yeah, unless the bridge is the dam. But it looks like it's got posts underneath. Dam. What river? Reservoir. So where's the dam? I was just trying to find the picture that they may have been on. But was it a bridge? It was a bridge though, wasn't it? It's got a bridge here.
Look that way.
So it might be that one we were looking at before then.
Yeah.
There.
As I say, people could always, if they want to find the exact location, they can always, we've left the link, they can always do that in their own time,
Yeah. Have you got YouTube open? Hit a like thing there for us. Make sure that's working again.
Okay.
I think it's definitely working a lot better now, so I think we've got it solved.
All right.
Read out the last bit there.
The two men soon began to experience a burning sensation on their skin and went to St. Joseph's Hospital in Baltimore for treatment. They were examined, and each man returned to his own home. Follow-up investigation would reveal some more details of the incident. The bridge was double-arched, about 40 foot tall and 500 feet long. The distance from the witnesses to the object was estimated at about 3/4 of a mile. Also, there was no unusual atmospheric conditions at the time, and the skies were clear. Project Blue Book investigated the case, but found no absolute cause for the appearance of the object. The case remains unidentified, although the Air Force did state that the object constituted no security threat to the United States. The two witnesses would subsequently be identified as Philip Small and Alvin Cohen.
So it definitely talked about a bridge there, so that must be what we're looking on the map. The other thing
Well,
was
more importantly, Paul, never mind the bridge, but Blue Book doesn't believe it was a threat to national security, which is quite unusual when something's flying around in the airspace and you don't know what it is. That it's considered not a threat. Well, obviously those guys ended up in hospital. I presume there was some kind of mild thermal burns because they were dismissed from the hospital after I don't know how many hours they were there. But yeah, makes you think, doesn't it, how Blue Book came to that stupid conclusion. There was nothing to be seen. Go on, folks. No UFOs here.
So I think you're way louder than me.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's all right. As long as you don't talk too loud.
Well.
Yeah. So we go to the one here. They talk about burning cessation. So they must have got radiation burning.
Well, I think they'd have kept them in if they thought it was radiation burns, you know. But they seemed to discharge them from the hospital, and they all went home. So I presume it was just some heat, some kind of thermal heat.
UV radiation normally burns.
Yeah, which isn't, fatal. But
okay, so
I don't know. I haven't seen the hospital records for that. No idea who has them.
Okay, so we're finished with that one now. So the next one is this one, which I'll post a link, save you having to do it, since I've already got it. So, to 97.4, and we're talking about Quakers in Australia, which we had the map up before. I suppose I can't go back to it. There's a bit of history, has it? Not having any luck here, am I? Quakers. Why is it not coming up? New South Wales, there we go. So we're going to this location now. And Australia again. So we'll just read out that.
1974, close encounter with saucer at Quakers Hill.
And of course we looked at that before on the bit of paper here drawn. Looks like the classic two saucers stuck together. We've lost the lights and windows. Rural, urban, and we read out that
multiple witnesses.
Yep, it's looked like it's all working pretty good now. Yeah, we'll get there.
My sister and myself were driving when the car suddenly shook violently, then completely stopped. Nothing worked, not even the radio. That's when I observed this massive circular disc-shaped object. It didn't seem to be much higher than the power pole. It was surrounded completely by lights and had a dome in the middle on the top. Show map address equals Quakers Hill.
Yeah, so it's cut out the radio as well.
Yep.
The electrical interference there, it sounds like EMF, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think these things seem to be ionizing the air. Around. I don't know, but let's move on.
What we pointed out is this is all pre-electronic, computerized car system ignition systems. Yeah. So you can't say it's interference with a computer. So it's got to be flow of current in the electrical system to cut out spark plugs, which shouldn't be possible. Unless the EMF stops it working, but
it obviously is happening. So
I don't know. We'll get it to read out the next bit here, and I'll see if I can find some information on that actually.
My sister and myself were driving along Hamilton Road, Quakers Hill, MSW, Australia, when the car I was driving suddenly shook violently, then completely stopped. Nothing worked, not even the radio. The motor just stopped. I was scared something was really wrong with the car. I started to get out of the car to get my two babies out of the back seat when something made me look up. That's when I observed this massive circular disc-shaped object. It didn't seem to be much higher than the power pole. It was surrounded completely by lights and had a dome in the middle on the top. We watched it slowly move over the dairy adjacent to the road. There was no sound then. It seemed to stop, then shoot up into the air. I was actually standing under this thing. It was a gunmetal grey in colour and the size of half a football field. Once the object shot up in the air, my car started again with no problems.
So EM effects on vehicles here. One of the most questions about electromagnetic pulse is about the effects of EMP on vehicles.
Yeah, but I've got this all sorted in order, you know, Paul.
What, you've actually looked up all this information that I'm looking at?
Yeah,
now?
you know that I always do.
No, you don't. So what's the next? We're finished with that link now, the Quakers. At least you want to talk about it.
So that was the Quaker Hill one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to move on to this.
I'm not too sure what Shelley's saying. A little tiny font there now. Hey, been on for almost 43 and can't get up on live chat. Yeah, we had all sorts of problems, technical problems here too. Looks like there's been some code changes, and I don't think it's anything I've done. Something that Google's done, or some updates happened. But we're back and running again, but we're an hour behind. As you can see, it looks like it's all working okay now. Okay, so what have we got? Okay, cookies. Now this is the site, the page that came up whenever it went wrong for me last time. So what's it got Elvis Presley on there? 60-foot craft lands with 2 occupants. So read out that one. Is it Johnny Sands? Country Western.
Interesting case, this.
Yes. Elvis has not left the building.
Johnny Sands, a country western singer living in Las Vegas, saw a 60-foot craft at about 1,000 feet altitude, shaped like the Goodyear blimp, with portholes around the circumference. The object appeared to land, and Sands then saw 2 figures approaching. Then, he froze. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. The figures came near him, to about 3 feet away.
Yeah, so we've got something in the way of that chunk. Bulletin. APRO, what's that stand for again?
APRO, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization.
We'll read out that chunk. It looks bigger than it is because it's bigger font now. But we can read it now. I can see what I'm doing.
APRO Bulletin, Volume 24 No. 9 March 1976, the Johnny Sands case, published in March 1976. The last extended, intensive period of UFO activity took place in the fall months of 1973, and at this time it appears that the fall months of 1975 and the early months of 1976 duplicated the flap of 1973 with one major difference. Whatever the UFOs are, they seem to be getting bolder, and in the abduction cases under study at APRO there are emerging threads of continuity in relation to descriptions of occupants as well as the objects themselves. We are also encountering warnings to the victims concerning what they will remember or what they can talk about if they do recall their experiences. A case in point is that of Johnny Sands, 30, a country western singer who, at the time of his alleged close encounter, was living in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he was trying to promote his first recording and was appearing in a show. A polygraph test administered by Robert L. Nellen of Robert H. Nellen Associates of Las Vegas indicates no deception. He had been out driving to the surrounding towns to check on how well his record was faring at the radio stations and on jukeboxes. He had left Pahrump at 10 p.m. and was driving on the Blue Diamond Road, and at about 10:30 p.m., about 22 miles out of Las Vegas, he saw an unusual aircraft. He didn't pay much attention to it, he said, although it seemed to follow him for about 3 miles. At this point, the car's engine began sputtering, so he pulled off the road and got out of the car. He walked around the car, removed the gas tank lid, and shook the rear end of the car to determine whether he had any gas. He could hear the gas splashing around in the tank, so he replaced the cover and went around to the front of the car and lifted the hood. It was at this time, looking up, he said, that he saw the craft above him at what he estimated to be about 1,000 feet altitude. Sands said it was about 60 feet long and shaped like a Goodyear blimp, with a large, round ring at the midsection. He also said it had windows or portholes, round, about 10 feet in diameter, and about 5 feet apart around the circumference of the ring or donut section, with a light between each. The object was rusty orange in color with flashing red and white lights on the ends. It moved slowly over the mountain to the south of him, lighting up the mountain as it did so, and appearing to land. Then, Sands said, he turned his attention back to his car and started to take the air filter off. For some unknown reason, he turned and looked down the road in the direction his headlights, which were on low beam, were shining, and saw 2 figures approaching. He could not make out any details, and at first thought they might have been muggers. Then, he said, he froze. He doesn't know why. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. The 2 figures came toward him, one stopping about 3 feet away while the other stayed about 5 feet beyond. Sands described them as perfectly bald with no eyelashes or brows, and with gill-like protrusions on either side of their faces which moved rapidly all the while that they stood there. The eyes were small, black, and the centers, or pupils, were white. Sands said the mouths were very small and never opened, and that their noses were pug or flattened.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this guy was making a good living. Really see why he had to make something like this up.
Alright.
I'm scared. What year was this again, Paul?
76, I think it said.
76, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's in full swing by then.
Yeah. Yeah, Shelley, we can see you typing on the side here. You should be able to see it on the live stream. How's everybody sounding? All right? Audio and all is good? Cool. Not cutting out like it was last week. I think it's a wee bit better this week for some reason on that side of things, but everything else went wrong. So we got 2 figures who are coming towards him. One stopping 3 feet away. We read all that out though, didn't we? The eyes were small. That's kind of strange. Small eyes, not big eyes.
Yeah, it's not a typical alien J he's describing, is it?
No, black, and centers or pupils were white. So yeah, definitely not the normal alien. So I think we got down to there, did we? Sands estimated.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll just read out the next chunk then. Oh, there's quite a lot then.
Okay. Oh, it's too much, Paul.
Too much?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, even that's too much.
No, it'll be alright.
Okay.
Sands estimates that the whole episode from the time he spotted the 2 figures until they walked away into the desert took about 10 minutes. When they left, they walked about 150-200 feet away. Then, Sands said, a flash of light came up and they were on. The road on which Sands was traveling is paved, but he says he only encountered 4 cars during the trip, and that the last one passed by going toward Pahrump just after he pulled off the road. He had jumped out of his car and tried to wave it down, but although the car slowed, it sped up again and continued along its way.
That's where Trump,
After the encounter with the figures,
was.
Sands tried to restart his car, and it started with no trouble at all, and he drove on into Las Vegas. When Sands initially reported his experience, he went to the police, who referred him to the Office of Special Investigations at Noyes Air Force Base. The spokesman for that office said that the Air Force had stopped probing the UFO problem in 1969, and that office only handles internal criminal matters. He also said the base's radar picked up nothing unusual that night, but only the base's runway headings were being monitored. A spokesman at the McCarran Airport Tower said nothing unusual was noted on their surveillance radar, which covers a 55-mile radius from the surface to infinity. However, He did note that the radar is line of sight and would not register craft beyond the mountains. The 10-minute episode is the fascinating part of Sand's story, in addition to his description of the humanoids who, although one asked him a number of questions, requested that he not reveal anything of the encounter. Sands has only revealed a part of what happened, saying that if he revealed the rest, it would be a breach of trust. The questions the humanoid who was standing closest to him asked of Sands were, 1. What was he, Sands, doing there? Sands responded that he was an entertainer and was in Las Vegas to do a show. 2. Why were so many people in Las Vegas? Sands said that it was a tourist-type town and that people came to Las Vegas from all over. 3. What is your means of communication? To which Sands replied that he didn't understand the question, because there are several different means of communication. The humanoid seemed to become irritated and said, answer the question. Sands repeated that he didn't understand, whereupon the humanoid turned to the other, and the two just stood facing one another for 2 or 3 minutes. Then his questioner turned to Sands, reached out his left hand and brushed Sands' left hand and told him, don't say anything about this meeting. We know where you are and will see you again. The two then trooped off and disappeared in a flash of light.
Well, well.
So you want to say something about that or not?
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, it's your show. I'm just the technical expertise behind the scene.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Mm.
Is he lying? Was he an attention seeker? It doesn't seem that he was.
Well, it's always better if you got multiple witnesses, though.
Of course.
Of course.
It's an interesting case, nevertheless.
Yeah.
Sand said that the voice of his questioner was deep, and the words came out slowly and almost mechanically with noticeable spacing between each and an echo-like quality. However, although he could tell that the voice came from the man's body, the mouth did not move at all. Sands described the humanoid clothing thusly, a black,
3PO.
silverish all-encompassing overall. The artist got his shades reversed in the painting with no visible seams. When the questioner brushed Sands' hand, it felt like rough, heavy-duty sandpaper. Besides the white strap which ran diagonally from right shoulder to the left waist, there was a wide white patent leather-like belt on which there hung capsule-shaped objects which were silver-colored and about 1 inch long. They appeared to be hanging on hooks, and the man twisted one of them all the while that he talked to Sands until he brushed Sands' hand and turned and left. The men were about 5'7" or 5'8", about 140 pounds,
5'8".
Sands said, and their gloved hands had a thumb and 4 fingers like normal humans. He also noted what appeared to be padding over the top of the feet, as well as across the back of the foot. The feet were covered by the same type of material as the rest of their bodies. They seemed to be very light on their feet, and made no sound as they walked, as if they were off the ground, although Sands said they were definitely touching it. Also very interesting is Sands' description of the face of the one who talked to him. The face was wrinkled. Now, body-wise, he looked as fit as a 21-year-old, but in his facial structure, I don't know. Something gave me the idea this guy was 300 or 400 years old. It's a very powerful face, a very powerful set of eyes. He's not so ugly as he is powerful looking, Sands told investigators. The machinations of a film crew calling themselves DEBUNK Productions, who were beginning work on a TV series dealing with the strange, unusual and unknown, served to muddy the waters considerably. On the evening of February the 10th, they took Sands out to the site of his experience, where he was instructed to stay in the car. Meanwhile, an argument apparently started among the film personnel, and, hearing snatches of their conversation, including "What will we do with him?" gesturing towards Sands in the car, he's already heard too much. He started to get out of the car, whereupon 2 fuzzy things ran at the door and kept him inside. He said that every time he tried to get out of the car, they would repeat the performance.
Nice. So
Interesting.
we're talking about
That's
little...
enough story to make up, that's for sure.
We're sort of cutting out there a wee bit. Yeah, it's like the little people that he's saying that are much older. Like that disease that some kids get where they age very quickly.
I don't think that's what he was saying, though.
No. But that's what it would look like, one of those, like those kids that age very quickly.
Okay.
That's what I'm imagining anyway. Unless someone was playing a prank with him. There's always a possibility.
Yeah, how could it stop his engine, though? Do you know what I mean? That's some prank, that, isn't it? Come on. Prank. He's either making it up or it happened.
Yeah.
Mr. Sands called Mr. Lorenzen after they had taken him back to Las Vegas and related these events, and was very agitated about the incident. He said that the dumb people had taken him to dinner and they'd had a few drinks, and he wondered if he'd been drugged because he couldn't remember the entire evening. Piecing the whole thing together, the Lorenzens have hypothesized that the film crew may have had two men dressed in animal-like disguises. The things were man-shaped, Sands said, for the purpose of frightening Sands so that they could film him in an actual terrified state. In a report to John Romero, a pro-field investigator in Las Vegas, Mr. Nolan, the polygraph operator, states, following I listed the relevant questions and the subject's vocal responses. 1. On January the 29th, did you see two strange figures in the desert? Answer, yes. 2. Did you communicate with these strange figures? Answer, yes. 3. Did these strange figures tell you that they would see you again? Answer, yes. 4. Were you under the influence of anything at the time of this meeting? Answer, no.
I'll get some more here.
Yeah.
Five. Regarding what happened on Thursday, January the 29th, have you told the truth about what you saw that night? Answer, yes. A total of 3 charts were obtained using the above relevant questions. During these 3 charts, Mr. Sands indicated an ability to respond automatically to vocal stimuli. His responses in critical areas were not consistent with deception criteria. After careful examination of this subject's polygrams, it is my opinion that Mr. Johnny Sands was truthful in his answers to the above relevant questions. I am not attesting to the truthfulness of the whole story that Mr. Sands has told, only to the veracity of his answers to the above relevant questions. Unquote. It has been suggested to Mr. Sands that he undergo hypnotic regression in order to attempt to retrieve further information, but he is afraid of hypnosis. APRO consultants feel, however, that some progress may be made in that direction in the future.
So I just want to recap this one. This is in This is in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is where Art Bell was.
Yes.
It's called Prompt. Strange name. I'm not sure what it means. So let's just see if we can find it. How do we spell it? So, Rump, power up. There we go. Have we got it here? Nevada. It was in the valley. Why can't we see it? Here we go. Nevada. There we go. Let's go into Art Bell's place. Certainly looks like it's in a desert there, doesn't it? He's definitely way away from the main city, which is over this, which was way over here, wasn't it? Let's see. There's the main city there, right? And there's that valley. It goes all the way over a desert road here, and there's a salt lake there. What's that one called? Charleston View of Nevada, California, they call it. Strange. Nova California. So yeah, I'm not too sure where his place is, but it's probably there somewhere. There's definitely a dust bowl there, though, isn't it?
Was that a good story?
Well, I'm just going over that, son. So now we know where the location is. It's pretty remote. Yeah. They saw a cigar-shaped craft by the looks of it. 60 foot, about 1,000 feet altitude. Because it looks like a Goodyear blimp, so obviously it's got to be a cylinder type, isn't it? with portholes. Now, that's where Art Bell saw it too on that highway there, wasn't it? The TR3B that he saw that passed over the top of his car. He said it was massive and moving slowly.
What year was that?
Sorry?
What year was that? With Art Bell?
Oh, I don't know. Around about that
Wait,
time. I think it might have been around 1976 actually. I have got.
Yeah, I would say it would be in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it's 76 actually, though. It might be the same year. But his definitely wasn't a blimp shape. It was definitely big, thick, multi-story high triangle wedge, basically. So I actually have got the Art Bell talking about that particular case. But it didn't actually knock out his car, that one. Which is different to this other one where you say it knocks out the vehicle. So Art Bell's story's there, but I'm not too sure what he said, what year it was in the thing now. Got a feeling it was 76 though. Definitely a good story to listen to anyway. I don't know if you can find out on the web. It might actually just have a summary somewhere. Art Bell's UFO sighting. Yeah, let's see what comes up. Does it tell us there? As well as a UFO sighting?
Yeah, it will do. It's in there. It's in there.
78 listed there. 1994, Art Bell with his wife discussed the UFO sighting. But when was it though? Well, let's see if we can find out. I was interested if it's in the same time period, because that sort of adds to it, I think. How can we search for it though? Let's see. Find.
Well, you've usually a summary there, haven't you, of them?
Here we go.
That's not a very good way of searching for it.
Give me a break.
Okay.
I didn't actually see UFO listed there though. What's the name? Romana. How can I see? I must have spelled the name wrong, have I? Sighton. What else have we got here? Why can't I see it, mate? 77. I'm pretty sure it was 70s. There was a lot of rumours too, wasn't there? Some dirt put out on him saying that he killed his wife or something.
Apparently, he had an enormous amount of hassle, for talking about UFOs on that radio station.
There it goes.
So he actually gave it up for a while due to the intimidation factor,
No, it doesn't seem to be in the article.
Okay.
I thought it was in the article, but no, it's talking about the death of his wife, not the sighting. Well, if someone finds it out there, let us know in the side chat. Suppose we better carry on. Better carry on. Did we get to the end? I think that was the last chunk. In view of.
There we go.
In view of Sand's apparent sincerity in the polygraph tests, this case cannot be entirely discounted. Also, there is the verification of the initial sighting of the object by others who called the police department that evening and reported seeing an object in the area, the description of which closely matches that of Johnny Sands. Obviously, there is considerable follow-up work to be done on this case, which is one of the more puzzling ones to come out of the 1975 to 76 flap.
See, his sign might have been part of the flap, you see. Yeah, it's just a shame that we can't find it. So, yeah, where are we going from here, then? Next one?
Okay.
Next case?
Yeah, well, we're getting down into the science side of it now, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, you post the link.
Yeah, I'll do it now. Give me a chance. Oh, no, not just yet. Okay.
What, just yet? What do you
Please, I'm in absolute flaming pain with this stupid trapped nerve.
Yeah, my neck's hurting a wee bit too.
Won't be hurting like mine.
I don't
There
know.
you go.
I'm on a strange angle at the moment, which ain't helping because the bed's sliding. Hey, look, it pops up, allows us to cut and paste it this time. God, that was a strange problem. Technical stuff now, is it? Whereabouts do we read it from?
This isn't the technical side now. These are just a list of cases
With cars
with,
stopping.
yeah.
So you want to read them out?
Hell yeah. I'm trying to emphasise the point that this happens all the time. Now we know about this case, don't we?
Oh, what happened there? Ah, right. It won't let me select the text. Why is that? I might have to scale it down a bit. No, we haven't got the auto thing. So he goes to the toilet. Oh,
Photographs of close-range metallic object taken near Zdani, Poland, January 8, 2006. Zdani, Poland. A series of photographs was taken during an encounter with a metallic object by multiple witnesses near Zdani, Poland, in January 2006.
Oh, no, not that one.
Two men were returning from a wedding party when they spotted an object flying across the road. A moment later their car engine stopped, as well as the engine of another car behind them. One of the witnesses took a series of photographs. The encounter lasted at least 8 minutes, after which the car engine started with no problems. Viewful.
And this one I've actually debunked, so I'm not sure when he wants me to talk about it, he's gone away again. He's shocker. But we'll just keep out reading these ones and we'll come back to that one. So that other one, that first one was faked. So I'm not too sure about these other cases because I haven't looked into them myself. Robert's brought them forward.
Large triangular UFO photographed over Puerto Rico, May 15, 2005. Carolina, Puerto Rico. I saw an immense triangular object. I can tell you and compare it to the size of a ballpark or two enormous ballparks. It was going very slowly and passed directly over me. It made no noise whatsoever and was going slowly, very slowly, and that's when the van's engine and lights went out completely. I managed to capture the craft and photograph it. View full report. Source, Scott Corrals, Inexplicata, Journal of Hispanic Ufology, id. 564. Case type, standard case features, photo, vehicle interference, EM effects, physiological effects, animal reaction.
Okay, it doesn't really say much, does it?
No, it doesn't. But if all these cases if you look underneath at the source, you'll always see vehicle interference in every single case, and that's all I'm trying to do. You don't have to read out every single one, but I'm trying to emphasise how often this is happening.
Yeah, but that first one we debunked.
we know what that's about.
We're meant to show the bunk on that one, but we'll do it in a minute.
Yeah, certainly not all of them are.
Large, luminous UFO stops cars, electronics in city July 15, 2002 Campamento Vespuccio, Argentina. An unidentified flying object, UFO, of large size and intense luminosity was seen in the town of Campamento Vespuccio. The event caused a sensation in this community. The object was of the size and shape of a rugby ball. The phones stopped working and the electrical systems of several cars were left for dead. View full report.
So we got a rugby ball shaped UFO. That's pretty small.
No, that's the shape, Paul, not the size.
Oh, right.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we got the DEBUNK images for that top one. Sorted out why that was reading. What's going on?
Yeah, what annoys me about that.
Encounter at Fox Lake, Yukon.
UFO encounter at Little Fox Lake, Yukon, March 30, 2000. Little Fox Lake, Yukon Territory, Canada. Witnesses saw a 30 to 40 feet diameter saucer hovering about 200 feet off the ground. It was a classic disc shape with a dome on top. The dome had two curved windows or lights from which a blue light was shining. The car headlights dimmed and their tape deck stopped playing. Their watches stopped functioning. View full report.
So we got multiple witnesses here. Doesn't always mean that they're honest. Of course, but always question everything.
Yeah, but it goes on and on and on and on. And of course, the first cases, well, not the first, but the first multiple vehicle interference case was Leveland in 1956, wasn't it?
Yep. And these ones,
where certain cars were stopped, and there was multiple witnesses. All of them were independent, didn't know each other. Leveland is a cracking case, no question.
So what else?
After that, you know, this engine interference we've known about, so somebody else could use it, couldn't they? If they're trying to hoax something.
I'm not too sure what Shelley's on about, but yeah. Thanks, your messages are coming through okay. Are you seeing our ones?
Car stop UFO encounter near Vølje, Jutland, Denmark, September 29, 1995. Vigil, Jutland, Denmark. A 24-year-old man was driving to visit his parents in Vigil in Jutland, Denmark, when he experienced a dramatic stopping of his car when a disc-shaped UFO with a powerful light hovered over his vehicle. The object was only 3-4 meters above the car, and he could see a number of circular lamps on the underside. After a short time, the intensity of the light from the UFO diminished, and it slowly moved away and out of sight. He was able to start the car again normally. View full report.
You've turned off your camera, have you?
Yeah, I know. I'm doing all kinds of little exercises here to try and loosen up this neck.
Oh, we can watch it. We can watch and loosen up your neck while we're reading out this. I've yet to sort out the font size on that video window too. It's crazily big. I don't know. Windows stuffs up everything. Tell it to scale up the font and it scales up everything else under the sun. Not browser. You don't ask it to scale up the browser font, but it did anyway.
UFO lands to repair hole in its hull, Transvaal, South Africa, March 30, 1995. Transvaal, South Africa. When a local farmer from Group Mariko in the western Transvaal Plains region first observed the saucer-shaped object on Thursday morning, he noticed that it had a distinctly visible hole in its hull. The farmer, Mr. Jan-Pierre, 45, is of the opinion that this vehicle landed on a remote country road between Caligny and Breaksbrood to have its damaged hull repaired. However, his arrival probably prompted the vehicle's hasty retreat and rapid ascent into the sky. View full report.
Yeah, we've talked about Seller before. He's a total crackpot, isn't he? Not to get confused with Robert Sellers. He's a good guy, but Michael Seller is one of these Corey Good promoters, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's in that case.
Yeah. Best to avoid that one at all costs. He started up the Expo Politica, whatever it's called, which is extraterrestrial politics, of all things. If we ain't got enough politics in the world, we don't want extraterrestrial politics as well. We got enough infighting in the UFO field.
Do you know it might appeal to some, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what he started out on this. I don't think he believes his own words. I doubt it. I very much doubt it.
No.
Dangerous people, that type of people, because they suck people in, and they often do.
Yeah.
Contact case in Georgia, Eastern Europe, July 4, 1989, Bulisai, Georgia. From the witness. I saw a flying saucer. It was standing to the left of me and has 3 legs. All around it were colored lights. At the bottom were stairs and illuminated windows. From the saucer, 15-20 meters away were standing 4 figures. They were 2.53 meters in height. View full report.
So another interesting one here with figures. Noel's family, that seems to ring a bell. Australia, that's that Australian one we've talked about before. Sex with us, he wants us to fight. Well, we've had all sorts of problems. This is our second try with the live stream tonight. What do you think of Edge of Wonder? The gullible or in the whole Corey Good? David Shilcock, hoaxer.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, they are.
Eyes on Zach, to be honest. I think he knows full well what's going on in this UFO field community, if you like. Yeah, he seems to know the good guys from the bad guys, if you know what I mean. And I think there's more bad guys than good guys, unfortunately. So many people trying to sell something, push something, plug something.
If they live off the UFO field, they're more likely to be corrupted, right? They might start off innocently and then embellish something. They might see a UFO and then start embellishing it and going to these conferences.
Well, they might get into the UFO community to the point where they actually see there's a market there.
Definitely. But they might go along to these conferences and say, yeah, I was abducted, and then they sort of create more stuff, oh, I was abducted again, and this time I saw this,
Yeah, it's that need to find new material all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's plenty out there coming in all the time, right? So you don't need to make anything up. But if they want the attention-seeking side of things, as well as sell books, that's where it all goes wrong in the UFO field.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with writing a book, especially when you look at somebody like Robert Hastings. 35 years of research to write one book that wasn't even on Amazon, and he was selling at $20 a go.
All right.
That doesn't make any economical sense at all, does it?
That's
just a passion. That's just a love. He may be lost on that book, probably.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, when we're banging out books one every 6 to 12 months with internet research, you have to start then.
Yeah. At least Linda Moulton Howe, give her credit that she actually just tries to go and interview people and follow up stuff. When that Sun Observatory went down, she went to tried to get the full story on that, and because everyone was saying multiple of those things went down right around the world, and so she found them all up. She found them all up and found out that they all had different problems. One was doing an upgrade, another one had the camera outage, which got reset quickly and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Even though she gets suckered in, she does try to research stuff, so I give her credit there.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, another thing with Linda Moulton Howe is over the years, what I think she's been the victim of a lot of disinformation from the intelligence community, you know. And I think she's maybe taken too much of that on board, and it's blown her mind in a way.
I don't think she's ever had a sighting herself, though, has she?
Don't think she has.
No.
Not to my knowledge.
I think it helps if you've had your own encounter or abduction. Makes it a bit more personal.
When she got into it, she was just an investigative journalist, wasn't it? And she started looking at cat mutilations. I think that was a starting point, wasn't it, when she was quite a young girl?
Yeah, and that might have been a career killer as well, right? Once you get into that spooky.
Yeah, but she went into it. Nevertheless,
you know. But then she wouldn't have got any other job offers, is what I'm saying here. So she had to go the full spooky world, and the woo. Full of dance. And the woo woo. You're sort of cutting out there again. I'm not too sure why that is. So I'll just read out the next bit. How's Robert sound on your end, guys? Because he's cutting out a wee bit for me here.
No, you said the sound is fine.
I think if we talk at the same time, I think it's fading out though. I know we've got a few seconds delay, and we think a pause means a jump in. We got to sort of wait longer before we jump in. I'll just get this reading now.
Knowles family UFO encounter in Mundrabilla, Australia, January 21, 1988. Mundrabilla, Australia. The Mundrabilla incident of a few years ago received much media publicity. The Knowles described how the UFO shot over their car and lifted it off the road. Their voices changed in pitch, the family dog in the car went crazy, and the car started shaking. The news media described the incident as a UFO attack and reported that the car was covered by strange dust. A view full report.
Okay, so now we got Carlos Diaz, and I'm pretty sure that he's a faker, a hoaxer, from New Mexico. Yeah. He's the one I call the lampshade UFOs, where they've got a paper mache lamp and they've got light inside of it. He was the one saying that UFOs were actually organic rather than metal.
Well, that's not impossible, is it?
No, I'm not saying that, but I think he hoaxed all these ones because it wasn't credible enough, and not multiple witnesses either. So, yeah. So we got 60-foot craft, which we already read that one out. UFO with 2 occupants. So we haven't had that one before, I don't think.
Yeah, just thinking out. It was species 8472, wasn't it? Star Trek they had what they called a bio ship, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those episodes, they were quite scary. Actually, they weren't very nice guys.
Well, what's that sci-fi series? Fast Escape was quite popular. I think it was Australian mixed with Canadian actors, was it? Which had a ship that was livable. A living organism, and it could repair itself. But yeah, I don't know what it would breathe in space. So yeah, I've actually got the series, but I've never ever had time to watch it. But I'll get around to it one day. I've watched some of them. It was on TV, but New Zealand was really bad. Sometimes they wouldn't get the episodes, and eventually they'd kill off the seasons and never get to see how it finished. It's really annoying in New Zealand.
UFO with 2 occupants hovers over man's car. 1975. San Antonio, Texas, United States. A 48-year-old San Antonio sheet metal worker claims he had a close encounter of the third kind with 2 occupants of a UFO. He was driving his pickup truck just south of San Antonio when he was approached, spotlighted and nearly buffeted off the road by an unidentified craft, investigators report. A view full report.
So we sound like we're on helium. I'm not surprised the matters problems that we've had tonight. Anyway. So what's this one about? Escorts, Mexican craft.
Yeah, but just to go back, that other one was in Texas as well, and so was Level, and that was in Texas as well. So interesting.
Yeah, and we've read that one. Quakers. Object emits 3 discs. So we'll read out these other ones then. If it will let me select it.
UFOs escort Mexican aircraft May 2, 1974 en route from Guerrero State to Mexico City, Mexico. Carlos Antonio de Los Santos Montiel was flying en route from Guerrero State to Mexico City in his Piper Aztec 24. He became aware of 3 objects positioned extremely close around the plane. He heard a noise from below, as if one of the objects had collided with his plane. He then noticed that the aircraft controls and landing gear were frozen. A view full report.
Alright, you're talking about the story about the 2 guys. You'd think there'd be some video of UFOs that escorting a plane there though in 74 though. Someone would have seen that.
Yeah, but we're not going to be privy to that, are we, Paul? With its gun camera footage.
Oh, I don't know. It seems a bit suspicious, that one. Let's see. Object emits 3 discs, so that one might be more realistic. If it let me select it. It's doing that craziness again. Where is it?
Object emits 3 discs. Response to light signals. August 1972, Minnesota, United States. A family of 6 was returning from their vacation in the U.S. at night when they observed a UFO, which zoomed straight toward them. They used a flashlight and flashed 4 times, short flashes, and immediately the object flashed back 4 times. 3 smaller discs were seen leaving the large disc. View full report.
Okay. Now we got another Australian one here. Victoria this time. Won't let me select it. There we go.
Maury and Pudy's close encounter in Victoria, Australia, 1972. July 5, 1972. Frankston, Victoria, Australia. On the 5th of July 1972, 27-year-old Maureen Pudy saw a UFO on the Allure Duck Road near Frankston, in Victoria, Australia. The object was a huge blue disc, which hovered above her car as she returned from visiting her son in hospital. 20 days later, at almost the same spot, it returned. This time it seemed to drain power from the car, causing it to stop. Indeed, the car appeared to steer itself to the roadside. A voice in her head told her, "All your tests will be negative." It then said, "Tell media, do not panic. We mean no harm." View full report.
So, drain the battery.
Yeah, and the car being steered to one side. That's not particularly, well, it's rare, of course it's rare, but it's happened before on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A wee bit suspect, some of these ones, sorry.
You've got to be suspect in all of them, haven't you? That's the way it is. That's the game. But when the sheer weight of evidence,
you have to see. You have to see what they gained from it, though. You have to see what they gained from it, like money, newspaper selling to newspaper interviews, and all that sort of stuff. And of course, spottable witnesses help, and especially you've got kids that see it as well. I think kids are more likely to speak out if it was lying or something, especially if they're younger kids. What's she saying?
Danish police officer has 2 close encounters. The Maurer sightings, August 13, 1970 Haderslev, Denmark. Danish police officer Evald Maurup was driving through the countryside near Haderslev when he encountered a brilliantly lit UFO. Suddenly there was a fierce light beaming down on him, his car engine cut out, and the car lights and his radio stopped working. Above him, Maurup could make out a large circular object which he watched for about 5 minutes, before it moved away rapidly. 3 years later, Maurup had another encounter with the same or a similar object at exactly the.
So were you going to talk more about that other one, the Poland one? Was it here? This one here, which is.
There was another. You could have moved on to that. There's multiple cases there. But if you want to go on and do your debunk on that one, that's fine with me.
No, I got to the end. So look, unless there's more pages. More pages.
Yeah. See what I mean?
Okay, next page. Let's see. Is that the last page? Yeah, looks like it. Alright, you're right. There are a couple more there that I missed. Disc-shaped UFO with dome buzzes automobile.
Disc-shaped UFO with dome buzzes automobile. October 15, 1966. Split Rock Pond, New Jersey, United States. The object was directly in back and above me and followed my car along the road. He estimated the object to be approximately 25 to 30 feet wide and 5 or 6 feet high. His diagram shows a typically flat-bottomed and somewhat domed object. Simons then noticed that his car began to act abnormally. A view full report.
So 5 to 6 feet high for a flying saucer. Depth is pretty shallow.
The most important thing there is features. You see underneath the case there, underneath the quick sundry of the story, is features, vehicle interference, physiological effects. And you'll see that coming up time and time and time again.
Yeah, but what's causing it?
Exactly.
Well, so trying to figure out the EMF side of things. I know.
I've got that. Next.
I know EMF will knock out CPUs, but how can they knock out batteries and stop current flowing? Is the question.
Yeah.
Close-range sighting of disc-shaped object with dome on top. April 22, 1966. Alliance, Ohio, United States. When it was within an estimated 40 feet over the open practice area of the golf course, the UFO stopped. Confer. Dammon, Texas.
You spoke over that one a wee
bit. It
bit.
appeared to be at telephone pole height and about 45 feet in diameter, and encircling the rim was a row of red lights like a rotating neon sign. The white light, much brighter than the red, was seen to be coming from a dome atop the structure. A view full report.
So it looks like you're about 4 seconds behind me here. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just going to say is that there's never been a single case of a diesel engine being knocked out by one of these things. Not one single case. So what's the difference, really? Well, a petrol engine uses a spark plug to ignite the fuel. A diesel engine uses high compression ratios to ignite the fuel. So there's something in that we need to keep in mind.
Because there's no current flow needed.
But
although there is needed to start motor. The starter motor compresses the cylinders, and once the compression starts, it starts a chain reaction, doesn't it? So you don't need electrics after that, as far as I know, for a diesel.
That's right.
But how did they stop the motor though? Under the diesel?
They haven't. That's my whole point. The diesel engine, nobody ever reported it.
No, but how's the diesel engine work? And now we have to figure out how diesel engines work. So if you turn the key off on the diesel truck, how does it stop the engine from firing? Does it fire a piston thing in there to slow it down?
Yeah, we've got all that coming up, Paul, to the next article.
Yeah, well, everyone's going to ask these questions.
Yeah, I know. You're going to get the answers in the next article.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Disc-shaped object hovering a few feet above road. March 31, 1966, near Vicksburg, Michigan, United States. Gino Udvardy, a 1956 Hungarian refugee, was driving home from a late work shift near Vicksburg, Michigan. When he reached the crest of a hill, he saw a cluster of lights on the road. They were seen to be on a disc-shaped object hovering a few feet above the road and blocking his passage. View full report. Source: NICAP, National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon.
That's my cap. Yeah. So we've got a couple more here. Motorcyclist this time, so that's a motorbike. I haven't come across the lawnmower one yet. Is that coming up?
The Langenho incident. Motorcyclist encounters UFO. September 14, 1965. Mersey Island, Essex, United Kingdom. I could make out some sort of an outline, and an enormous object spun into view, looming up large and uncanny out of the sky. It resembled the upper half of a large spinning top, and was about the size of a gasometer. There appeared to be a dome on top, inside of which was flashing a strange blue light. View full report.
Yeah, if you want to come on talk about UFO sighting, join our Discord group. You can post.
Yeah, that's right.
You can post it in there. Everybody can get to read it then, and then it could be presented to the next live if we think it's worthwhile. Of course, the Discord group is in the About tab of our channel here. There.
Yeah, but he wants to do it confidentially at first. Then he's not to send me an email or join me on Facebook.
Well, he could also post to you directly on Discord, on the private chat.
Yeah, but I don't check that so often, you see.
Well, that's up to you. So where did we get to on this one? I've lost it. Oh, there. So we've got a couple more here. Oh, three more.
Well, we're pretty much established now, haven't we?
Well, they're all different. That one looks like a Ferris wheel in the sky. A will, and a will.
Then again, you could easily see that as a different angle as a saucer, couldn't you?
Yeah. And of course, eyewitness accounts are never perfect. We know that as well.
Oh.
Giant spinning top encountered by businessman. June 29, 1964, near Livonia, Georgia, United States. Businessman Beaufort Epham was returning home late on the evening of June the 29th, 1964. I spotted a very bright light in the sky coming directly toward my car, the witness said in a letter to a NICAP member. The next instant it was directly in front of my headlights, spinning like a giant top. It was shaped like a top and made a hissing sound like a million snakes. View full report.
Hissings like snakes, and we've also got trace evidence, it reckons here. So it doesn't talk about the trace evidence in that little blurb though. And Levelin case we've talked about before. Took out rarest 10 cars, I think it was, at that particular one. Metal artifact found after close encounter.
7. And and I mean that was like multiple cars being stopped in a space. It was 2 hours. Yeah, even the police officers that were called out to the case, we thought it was quite funny at first, until their car got stopped as well when they seen the object. But this thing in Ludland, it was landing on the roads. It was on the road in front of them and hovering right over them. But they generally are, when they stop the engine, they generally are in very close proximity. And it's not just car engines either. You know, it's been tractors, it's been motorcycles, lorries, even lawnmowers. My God.
Yeah. So we got this last one in Sweden.
Yeah.
Metal artifact found after close encounter on island of Vado, Sweden, November 11, 1956. Isle of Vado, Sweden. Stig Ekberg and Harris Joberg were driving on the island of Vado, Sweden, when they were approached by a flattened sphere-shaped object. It settled in the middle of the road, about 100 meters in front of them. After about 10 minutes, the object lifted off and accelerated away. At the landing site, the witnesses found a shiny rock that was hot to the touch. It was a three-sided piece of metal about the size of a matchbox and had a heavy weight. Upon analysis, the object was found to be composed of tungsten carbide and cobalt. View full report.
That sounds like it could be a meteorite, though.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's a bit of an odd one. So let's have a look at features. Artifact, vehicle interference, smell, odour, and physical trace evidence. So who got their hands on that then? Was it APRO or was it NICAP in 1956, yeah?
I don't know.
Well, it's going to be one of the two.
Well, I'm going to have to dash off for a toilet break. We'll just carry on talking to the guys. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, just to emphasise that the most significant, and I'm not sure they were the first, but the most significant events with vehicle interference occurred in Levelland, Texas, 1956, and they've been happening ever since, to be honest. I mean, what we've looked at here today is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, just how many cases there are of this thing happening. There was a girl in my country, nation, Wales in the UK. You may have heard of her. She became a UFO investigator afterwards, Margaret Fry, where this UFO followed her at a distance for many miles on a distant country road. And they tried to turn off and hope it would go straight on, but it actually followed them. And as it came closer, right overhead, it actually cast a shadow on the road over them. You know, it was quite big, and it was like everything went dark. It blocked out the sun. And when this happened, the car came to like a grinding halt, and this thing was there. You know, it was perched in front of them now. They could see it clearly out the front window. There was children in the back and everything. And he actually felt some warmth, not a terrifying kind of heat or anything, off the object. They didn't get out the car. They were afraid, which is damn understandable. And eventually it shot straight up and out of sight in like a second or so. Then the car would start again. So yeah, pretty. You can have a look at Margaret Fry. She's from Wales. She's quite elderly now, but nevertheless, it's an interesting story. And there's tons of others like that. That's my emphasis. But the scientific side of it. Hold on, look now. Let's look at that one ready actually. Yeah, okay. So this is by James M. McCampbell. Now, I had a look at his background, and he worked for NASA. He's got a great CV in engineering and science. So this is coming from a damn good source.
Back to that Poland one again. Have you got that link to that full article with the pictures?
No, I haven't. I deleted that because I thought you'd already have it, Paul.
No.
But do you want to do this now? Finish off with this, yeah, and then you can do that debunk on that one after.
Yeah, but I'd like to have the original pictures, but
I can find them in the meantime, Paul.
Well, I'll do so because I haven't got it, and I have to start up another browser to find it in history.
Okay. Do you want to run this science article now?
Trying to.
In fact, it's a little bit too much for me. But I get the gist of it. That's fine, like, but there's certain parts of it that I don't have a scientific mind to understand, unfortunately. But I try. I keep trying.
Looks like it's a long one. We'll read
Yeah,
down.
it is. Don't
Read down that.
do too much, Paul.
Don't do too much.
No.
UFO interference with vehicles and self-starting engines. James M. McCampbell. Abstract disruption of automobile engines by UFOs is a familiar phenomenon. Less well-known are instances where an engine that had been killed comes back to life again when the UFO departs, that is, the engine restarts itself without assistance from the driver. 27 such cases are summarized. A key observation by a mechanic whose engine had been stopped by a UFO suggests a mechanism by which self-starting might be understood. Should a non-firing engine come to rest with one cylinder past top dead center, it would entrap a suitable mixture of fuel and air to be ignited by the next arriving spark, thereby cranking the engine. Such an event might result from collapse of a gaseous discharge across open breaker points in the distributor. If the discharge had been sustained by ionization of the atmospheric gases caused by the UFO, it would collapse shortly after departure of the UFO. Introduction. Unidentified flying objects are frequently reported to have exerted some influence upon the physical environment. All of these events are full of technical implications. One category in particular draws attention because of the promise that much scientific knowledge may be gained from it. A large number of UFO sightings have been made at the same time that a vehicle being driven by the witness suffers some sort of malfunction. UFOs appear to exploit a technology in advance of our own, but there is no reason to assume that the mechanisms by which vehicle interferences take place are beyond the capacity of contemporary science. On the contrary, design of internal combustion engines is a sophisticated endeavor. Engineers who design engines or others who understand them should be able to analyze any phenomenon that causes their failure. At least, every prospect encompassed by existing knowledge should be explored before appealing to esoteric theories. Progress in understanding very complex subjects sometimes proceeds upon recognizing a basic structure or pattern that is inherent in the problem. Most students of ufology fully appreciate the variety of details relating to vehicle interferences, but most of them fall conveniently into the following categories.
Oops. There's not many categories here.
1. Engine disruption and failure. A normally operating engine begins to run roughly and loses power, with accompanying reduction in speed. It may shortly resume normal operation, either following the disruption or occurring suddenly. The engine simply stops running altogether. 2. Failure to restart. Efforts of the operator to start the engine are unavailing in the presence of a UFO. Usually, it can be turned over, but does not catch. After the UFO has departed, however, starting is again normal. In a few instances, permanent damage has been suffered. 3. Self-starts. Without any assistance from the operator, the engine starts by itself at the time the UFO flies away or very shortly thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to the theories.
So it happens very quickly. As soon as it's left the vicinity.
Yeah, which normally you'd have to turn a key for the contacts to touch together to create
Normally the case, but obviously there's been those other cases, those few cases where it starts up automatically.
Yeah,
but
then they're talking about it starting up without the starter motor, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose you are.
Because you go boom, but they're talking about instantly starting up, which is different. It's almost like I don't know, physics has been interrupted and it resumes. That's what it looks like, rather than our physical EMF side of things.
That's a very good point, actually. It's a good point you make there.
Because if the starter motor was turned over and didn't start, then that's different.
Hypothesis to be investigated. Scientific progress is frequently achieved by a single hypothesis having a wide range of implications. A number of different suggestions intended to resolve separate elements of the overall problem, known as ad hoc hypotheses, is an offense to science. They are eventually supplanted by a more comprehensive and useful concept. The hypothesis to be investigated here is that the proximate cause of engine interferences in the above categories is ionization of the atmosphere. Reference 1. Ionization is the process by which electrons become detached from their parent atoms, leaving as separate particles the electron itself and a positively charged remnant of the atom that is called an ion. Engine disruption and failure. UFOs evidently ionize the atmosphere. Luminous, colored halos sometimes surrounding them must be produced by the recombination of free electrons with ions of the atmospheric gases. Reference 2. At other times UFOs are reported to be buried inside a dazzling white cloud that is clearly a plasma, a highly dissociated state of electrons and ions. Beyond the luminous boundary one would expect that gases are also being ionized, but to a lesser degree. Witnesses repeatedly tell of feeling electricity in the air, hair standing up, prickly sensations, or electrical shocks. Such expressions point directly to electrical phenomena. They are well enough understood, but investigators may have no mental framework into which the message can be fitted, so they may be ignored or forgotten.
So what they're saying there is, because engines suck in air for the part of the combustion, that they're changing the air as the ship UFO approaches around where the car is. So it's sucking in ionized air, which doesn't sort of react with the combustion process. So the engine cuts out. Not the battery, but the engine itself cuts out. So that's what they're saying there. Which makes sense. So that's not too scientific. Although it looks like we've lost 3 people watching also.
I don't think they like such articles, but there we go.
Yeah, but it's good to understand this stuff. But how come air not so important for diesel engines? I don't know. There's the question there.
I think it does address it towards the end, you know.
So it doesn't sort of explain the diesel engines so much, but yeah, the compression might change the air molecules, and not enough. Well, the ionized air may not change enough to stop the compression happening because it's a different type of engine.
Well, you know, you have to think about it. There's not one single report of a diesel engine going down with the same kind of failure.
So maybe we should be driving diesel engines all around.
Well, like a diesel car has not seen a UFO. It's just that it hasn't stopped the car. That's
another good point, though. Because the UFO approaches the car and the car stops, they think, oh, right, they want us to welcome us, so we go and talk to them. You know, instead of drive off and speed away.
Well, in the case of that country and western singer,
they might think, oh, these humans want to meet us because they stopped the car. I'm not thinking it's them causing it. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Until recently it has been nearly impossible to deal with engine interference cases properly because the mass of data was so widely scattered throughout the literature. It would have required a monumental effort to collect the cases, summarize them, perform statistical analyses, and publish a reference document. But 2 such documents have now become available. One by the British UFO Research Association, Buffalo, in 1979, reference 3, and the other by the Centre for UFO Studies, CUFOS, in 1981, reference 4. Their respective authors, Jeffrey Fowler and Mark Rodier, deserve admiration and gratitude for these outstanding contributions. It is now relatively easy to scan the worldwide record of vehicle interferences. Where was the witness when his engine failed? In the driver's seat. What could he see when looking under the hood at a dead engine? Nothing. Where was he when attempting to restart the car? back in the driver's seat. These circumstances can contrive to prevent the witness from observing anything significant, except in one crucial case. Reference 5. Relevant details of that case are extracted from the British summary. As a very bright light approached a car, it mimicked several series of flashlight signals. The car radio started to be affected and the engine faltered. The interior of the car became very hot, then the engine failed completely. The driver got out of the car, noted that the object was directly overhead and felt a prickling sensation like small electric shocks. He lifted the car hood and asked his wife to try to start the engine. The engine turned over, but sparks were seen to jump from the plug leads across the coil to the metal side of the car and back again. The man was a master mechanic and had never seen such an effect before. As another vehicle approached, the object moved away at high speed. The car engine could then be started immediately. Emphasis supplied by the present author. It is fortuitous that this event took place at 10 o'clock at night, as the sparks may not have been noticed in daylight. So of several hundred cases of engine interference, we have one in which the cause was actually observed, and by a mechanic at that.
Yeah, so where do we go from there? So is it atmosphere as well as EMF?
Lucky enough here, that actually an engineer, someone with some understanding, has witnessed this. I'll just get the side.
We can't see what's going on with Robert there because he's got his camera turned off. It's like a musical house in Robert's place, by the looks of it. Don't forget his mic's very sensitive. Yeah, we'll just read out the next chunk anyway.
What does this mean? Very strong electrical surges of 15,000 to 20,000 volts are delivered to the spark plugs through heavily insulated wires. These wires fan out from the distributor to each plug, lying rather snugly to the engine block and grounded components. In normal operation, rubber insulation, plus that provided by spatial separation, assures that the electrical surge is delivered to the plugs. The insulating properties of air are impressive. It can sustain an electrical tension without breakdown of about 76,000 volts per inch. For a wire carrying a charge of 15,000 volts only half an inch from the engine block, the electric field strength would be roughly 30,000 volts per inch. So the margin for preventing the charge from shorting out is not great. Now comes a UFO that ionizes the air. Free electrons in such a strong electrical gradient will be accelerated. They will quickly acquire sufficient speed and kinetic energy to knock electrons off of other atoms. These, in turn, produce grandchildren, etc. The net result is an avalanche of charge as the atmosphere breaks down in a spark. By this method, Geiger counters register the passage of a single ionizing particle. Once the charge has been dissipated to ground, the conducting path heals itself. This mechanism would prevent the high voltage surge from reaching the spark plugs. The onset of this condition would first be observed as a disruption of the engine when one or a few cylinders were starved because their wires were closer to ground or their insulation had deteriorated. When a sufficient number of cylinders do not receive a spark, the engine will fail. Failure to restart. Having reached a possible understanding of how UFOs could interfere with internal combustion engines, it is relatively simple to see why the engine might not restart as long as the UFO is present. Turning the ignition switch will crank the engine, but it could not be started as long as high voltage pulses intended for the spark plugs are shorted to ground by the breakdown of ionized air. There is another subcategory of this phenomenon, namely, cases in which the starting motor reportedly refuses to crank the engine at all. This problem, focusing upon the starter solenoid, is extremely complex, and since it is apparently unrelated to ionization, it must be set aside for the present. Self-starts.
So I'll just try to find...
It gets complicated, I know, but you just try and hold on and understand it, as best that you can. I honestly believe that science has actually missed out on these type of cases, and they really, I think they probably have studied this,
I don't think most people would know.
We're not,
I don't think anyone out there would know how a car engine works, let alone a UFO. But here we got a
Yeah,
pitch.
exactly.
Here we got a breakdown. A
Well,
distributor cap that spins around and it fires a pairs of spark plugs as it touches pins. Although it hasn't got a picture of it top down, it's like a rotating thing that touches contacts as it spins around. So it keeps even pairs of cylinders on the engine firing in the same direction, and then fire the other set of the odds. So you got a battery here, and you got the car switch there that you turn, and it creates a connection point there to initially start the starter motor, ignition coil, and points. So that's looking inside the cap, I think, isn't it? And what's that one? Condenser. What's that for? The airflow, is it?
yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, so yeah. You can tell I'm not much of a car expert. That's why I'm looking at it.
Through this as well, but what the hell, yeah.
Yeah. Here's another picture. Is that one any better? Well, that one looks a bit better. It's got its top-down look now. Distributor, as you can see, it's spinning around, and it touches. They've got a 4-cylinder car here. As it spins around, it fires each of the spark plugs. And of course, spark plugs, as you know, got a small gap on the train. If they get leaky oil from the cells around the engine block, it blocks up the spark gap, and then you find your car doesn't seem to run very well. It runs uneven. You have to replace this.
Clean your plugs and try again.
Yeah. Capacitor contact breaker. I suppose that's for the starter motor there. Complicated stuff, cuz. So, I don't think a UFO would understand why it would...
No, I don't think they're deliberately stopping these engines, Paul. It's a side effect of their propulsion system.
Yeah. Self-starts. So let's have a look at that one.
Yeah.
I'll read out that chunk first.
Self-starts. The most exasperating aspect of engine interference cases is the claim that an engine started by itself when the UFO departed, even though the driver's efforts were futile while it was nearby. This is such a ridiculous notion that even train mechanics scoff at it. Others find it an impossible concept. Reference 6. Yet it has happened, if witnesses are to be believed at all. Appendix A gives 27 abstracts of cases taken from the Rodier catalogue. Obvious push starts are not included and the list may not be comprehensive. Rodier found a total of 268 engine failures, not including, of course, instances of mere rough running or loss of power. Comparing this number with the 27 self-starts, one sees that the latter phenomenon is rare, amounting to only about 10% of the time. At any rate, these cases are adequate to establish some essential factors for self-starting. The presence of a UFO is obviously required, usually at rather short range. No mysterious engine failures followed by self-starts are known to the author to have been reported apart from a UFO sighting. Self-starts occur only in conjunction with departure of the UFO, either simultaneously, within seconds, or a few minutes at most. Cars, trucks, vans, and motorcycles are subject to the phenomenon. All are presumed to have had internal combustion engines using spark plugs, as none of the available summaries indicated diesel engines. Based upon conditions within the engines that are necessary for self-starting, the rarity of these events will become explicable.
So it talks about trucks there, but how many petrol trucks are there, you know? They're not diesel trucks. Combustion, spark.
Well, I mean, as a on a single case of a diesel engine being stopped.
None of the available summaries indicated diesel engines. So it must be petrol trucks then, is it?
Yeah.
Which would be rare. What they mean by trucks here, I don't know.
Someone with a diesel engine didn't try and hoax the story, and they'd have been caught out, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So maybe there's not as many hoaxes out there as you'd think.
And that's what happened when someone tried to fake the garage burning down. They said diesel leaked on the garage floor, and they dropped a spanner. They dropped a spanner and it ignited and burnt down the garage. And then they got them straight away because diesel doesn't do that because you need compression. Only petrol does that.
A hell of a job trying to ignite diesel.
Yeah, so bugger. And it's also heavier than water as well, isn't it? I think. Doesn't it sink to the bottom? I think it's denser than water. Let's have a look. Diesel. Unlike petrol, that floats on the top. Diesel. That's not how you spell diesel, is it?
There's an I in there.
I still got it wrong. Diesel.
The I comes after the E.
Float. Sink in water. Sink in water. Let's see. What's it say here? Eventually sinks to the bottom. Foam in dense water. What happens when you get water in your diesel? It can also cause the fuel injection to explode, resulting in expensive repairs. Slugs of water in the fuel can cause sudden cooling. It's not really answering my question. What's denser? Does water float on diesel? Here we go. Diesel is lighter than water, so there is water in the fuel. It will settle to the bottom of the jar. Diesel is lighter, so water goes to the bottom of the tank. I thought diesel was heavier myself, but they're saying it's lighter there. So that solves that one. Yeah, but it's a lot harder to set on fire, isn't it?
Oh heck yeah.
Than petrol. You can throw it on a pond and it won't burn.
Well, you try starting a fire with, like a garden fire or rubbish fire with diesel, it doesn't work.
No, yeah, I think I've tried all that, and water as well. But I thought it sunk to the bottom is why it didn't work, but maybe it wasn't. It was actually floating on top, but it just wouldn't ignite. But as soon as you throw some petrol on top, then that sort of helps. Makes a big explosion.
Cranking of the engine would be effective from a cylinder position between a few degrees past TDC to 1200 or so. But the crankshaft rotates twice for each power stroke of a cylinder in a 4-cycle engine. So, as a first approximation, one could estimate the favorable circumstances for a given cylinder to be about 120 to x 360 x 116.4% if the rest position was purely random. However, it is not. Cylinders act in pairs with one in the compression stroke being balanced by another in the power stroke. If the valves opened and closed at exactly 0 and 180 degrees, the trapped gases in a non-firing engine would merely act as efficient springs, balancing out the net torque on the shaft. Again, because of the relatively sluggish movement of the gases into and out of the cylinders, valves are timed to operate in anticipation of these two angles. A net torque causes a coasting and stopping engine to approach, then slightly back away from TDC. Its companion would correspondingly approach and slightly back away from its bottom position at 180 degrees, an unfavorable location for self-starting. Hence the probability of favorable circumstances for a given cylinder should be much less than 16%. Furthermore, if the engine remained dead for a long time, the fuel-air mixture would leak out past the rings, making self-starts impossible. The duration of engine failure is seldom reported, but it must be limited to a matter of minutes, or even to several seconds. While calculating the probability of self-starts seems to be impossible, these conditions illustrate why it is so small in the case histories. One would expect stronger influences upon automobiles from UFOs that are quite close. This question was subjected to statistical analysis by Johnson, who found that the distance factor was strongly related to engine disruptions and failures. Reference 8. 56 cases were subdivided into 3 groups according to whether the UFO was closer than 30 meters, between 30 and 120 meters, or beyond 120 meters. This corresponded to a grouping of the data, and changes in the selected cutoffs had no effect. Of a total of 43 failures, the number of events in the 3 categories was 16, 18, and 9, respectively. In other words, 79% of the failures were produced at distances less than 120 meters. The maximum recorded distance for engine failure was not given. Additional data on this point is available from Rodia in the form of a bar chart. Reference 9. Distances were broken down generally into increments of 200 feet, but intervals of 50 feet were used in the first 200 feet. By estimating from the scale and suitably combining the first 4 categories, one obtains the following results.
I was trying to post the link, but it's too long for some reason. How did you manage to post it? Oh, right, you did it on Facebook, didn't you? Are you there, Robert? Thought it might be a simple share link for this, but obviously it's ridiculously long. Oh, well, I will come back to that one. I found the link anyway. I started at Facebook. I found it on the Facebook. Are you there?
Yeah, what link was that?
For the Poland case. After this bit. So what have we got? Yeah. I'm not sure if you're understanding too much of what's going on here at the moment.
Yeah, look at the stats. It's interesting. Yeah, go for that first. What you got highlighted there? Or have you done that?
Well, it's a bit hard to read that one. Additional data on point is available. 50 feet were used in the first 200 feet. What was that? Broken down. By estimating the scale and suitable combining the first 4 categories, one obtained the following graph. So what they're saying, if it's 800 feet away, there was less problems with the cars, is what you're saying?
Wait, it's quite simple. Can you go back down to it so I can read it for you?
You're talking about this
okay.
here?
No, forget about that. Forget about that now. Go back down to the figures there, please. Yeah, okay. So 0 to 100 feet. This is the proximity of the UFO to the vehicle. 64 events. 100 to 200 feet, just 28. 2 to 300 feet, 14. 3 to 400 feet, 15. 4 to 500 feet, just 6. 5 to 600 feet, just 7. And scroll down. And then 6 to 700 feet, just 3, and 7 to 800 feet, 5. Okay, so there's an obvious trend there, isn't there? And that trend is the further away it is, the less likely it is to stop your vehicle. If you have a petrol engine. So that speaks volumes for me. Something's going on.
Yeah, but what's going on? Is it altered in physics, or is it altered in the atmosphere as well as EMF? But then again, the thing is, the starting off the engine is the one that gets me, though. Without the starter motor, I get spinning.
But that's a scarce occurrence, isn't it?
Yes.
But it has happened.
But that means to me that it doesn't fit in our normal physics for that to happen.
Does it?
So, from what I can think of at this time morning, which is 4 a.m. already. We've already lost 44 minutes on that first try, which is a shame, but anyway.
From 800 to 2,000 feet the distances were clustered in 4 intervals of 200 feet, then one of 400 feet, and finally, one for all distances beyond 2,000 feet. Therefore, the above table cannot be extended further. Let it suffice to observe that the remaining data give a fair approximation to an exponential tail. A surprising total of 15 cases were greater than 2,000 feet. The importance of UFO proximity is clearly evidenced by the large number of cases within 100 feet and the steady fall-off out to 800 feet. The above table certainly suggests a decrease in the influence from UFOs according to the inverse square of the distance, as would be the case for isotropic radiation. The data are somewhat contaminated, however, by a few instances where beams of light were directed at the vehicles. Many cases in the record do not give information on the distances of the UFO, possibly because the size was not known and no distance could be judged, or the event took place at night so reference points were missing, or the investigator didn't ask. So it is with the record of self-starts. Of the 27 such cases under review, estimated distances are available for only 10, but they are instructive. The distance figures are 12, 25, 45, 60, 200, 300, 600, 1000, and greater than 2000 feet. 4 cases are within 100 feet, but others range to beyond 2000 feet. It seems that the previous table of general interference and these self-starts are consistent. Proximity increases the likelihood of the effect. There is no threshold distance within which it takes place, and interference may take place up to a half-mile or more.
So, it doesn't say whether they had a beam of light on them. Because if it was a beam of light, I would be more inclined to think that it's somehow changing physics inside that beam.
Yeah, a deliberate act.
Yeah, rather than by misventure.
Yeah.
So why would it change physics? So maybe it changes the way electrons work on the circuit. But then again, maybe it doesn't yell work for me. It means also somehow it seized up the motor to stop it combusting. And then as soon as it goes away, it carries on where it was left off. It's almost like it's stopping time.
Okay.
So maybe it's a dimension thing. Maybe it somehow forces it into a dimension bubble where physics isn't the same. There's a possibility. A dimension bubble. There you go. I've created a new term.
Bubble. Well, that could go down in history. That. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that's the only thing. Because I think we've already passed that bit now. Because engineers say it's absolutely impossible for a car engine to restart itself without actually physically turning the key.
But we have got quantum bubbles, but I think this is slightly different. Quantum dimensional bubble. There you go.
You can't tell that something's going on though.
Yeah, you can quote me.
It should be given as a clue.
Yeah.
Cause of ionization. What possible means could cause ionization in the engine compartment and inside the distributor housing? One prospect would be the photoelectric effect that pries electrons out of material surfaces upon absorption of a photon. As iron is in great abundance under the hood, it should be suspect. The energy required to pull an electron out of iron, called the work function, is 4.4 volts. Electromagnetic radiation having photons of that energy or greater would have to have wavelengths of 2.76 x 10-5 centimeters or shorter, which lie in the ultraviolet region of the spectrum near the visible. This is the radiation used in psychedelic displays, and because it is invisible it is called black light. It could enter the engine compartment through the air passages in the radiator or by scattering through the open areas around the bottom of the engine. As both the steel distributor housing and the phenolic cap are opaque to ultraviolet, it could not be responsible for ionization inside the housing. Therefore, this potential source of free electrons must be ruled out. Another possibility would be direct photoionization of the air molecules. But again, the photons would have to be in the ultraviolet. Many natural materials exhibit fluorescence, but none has been reported in the vicinity of UFOs. It is unlikely that UFOs emit ultraviolet radiation, because there is no evidence indicating that they do. On the other hand, radiation in the microwave region has long been suspected as contributing to UFO effects. Wavelengths in the range from 0.5 centimeters down to 0.5 millimeters are resonantly absorbed by oxygen molecules and water vapor. Reference 10. The absorption throws the absorbing molecules into higher states of rotation, but that energy is instantly transferred to neighboring molecules by collision. The increased kinetic motion of some receiving molecules should become vigorous enough to dislodge electrons. Considering what is suspected about other aspects of such radiation near UFOs, microwave radiation should be considered as a candidate means of ionization.
Jesus. Yeah.
That's no religion.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was him. But yeah, that's a little bit over my head. I have to say, some of that stuff though was a bit technical and scientific for me. But okay, microwave energy, that's a thing that comes up time and time again.
You want me to do that difficult stuff, I know. You want me to research all the physics and all that and explain it.
Pretending, you know. I bet you are anyway. No, you could have better hold on me. Hold on, let's come out the door again, mate.
Of course I got a better hold. That's why I do my Sunday debunks after yours. Bring up stuff that needs to be talked about.
Conclusions. The hypothesis that ionization of the atmospheric gases by UFOs appears to have some merit. It has pinpointed physical processes that can clarify the malfunctioning and killing of engines and, in particular, the hitherto incredible claims that engines restarted themselves. It teaches us that credence should be lent to citing reports no matter how bizarre their content. The success of the hypothesis also implies that some UFOs are probably physical machines because their reported influence upon motor vehicles is physical. Radiation from UFOs is apparently associated with their propulsion system, and every effort should be made to determine all the electromagnetic parameters. In doing so, one would expect to find not a group of accidental quantities, but an integrated design optimization by those who manufacture UFOs. Concepts discussed here are subject to experimental verification. Although the equipment required may not be available to an independent researcher, it could easily be assembled by a substantial laboratory. A research program is envisioned in 3 stages.
Sounds scientific now.
It does, yeah. But what a shame the science hasn't taken this more seriously. Yeah, I'm sure it has, you know, behind closed doors and within the military-industrial complex. It's just we're not privy to the results, are we?
Yeah. That's why, Art Bell's one, where it didn't stall their car, makes me think that's human technology, not alien technology right there. The TR-3B.
No, right, okay, TR-3Bs, but you can't blame that. You can't blame Leveland and any 1940s, 1950 cases of engine stopping on TR-3Bs, can you, Paul? That's ridiculous, isn't it?
No, you misunderstood what I said. That they weren't they weren't a TR-3B. I'm saying.
No, but you did mention TR-3B, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm talking about Art Bell's one was a TR-3B.
Okay.
And
when was that? What year was that? That would have been 70s.
I don't know. We tried to find out. We didn't find it, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay then. But if nobody was actually seeing triangular craft in the 40s and 50s, and they were still stopping cars then. Yeah. So
none of those cases.
strongly disagree.
None of those cases we looked at were triangles, was it? Apart from one.
Well, triangles, yes, okay. But if you're talking 40s and 50s, even 60s, Paul, I don't think we had. And most of these people are talking about saucer shape.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it means that
triangular craft, you know.
Okay, let me get in. When the triangle craft passed over Art Bell's car, it didn't stall him anyway. It just carried on like he wasn't there.
Oh, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Ah,
I
wish it said in the first place.
But that's not the only case I know that I've covered before where people underneath the triangle as it's passing over, they could feel a electrostatic in the air, but it didn't actually stall the engines. I still think that might be human technology, a lot of the triangle ones. Not all of them, but a lot of them are going to be black ops blimps and stuff like that. Blimp triangles, as I call them, multi-story high. Because you're going to need some sort of lifting capability, and it's going to be, why not just use helium, great big huge ships, airships that can lift that kind of weight, and just put a powerful electro engine on it that can push it along at great speeds, right?
Well, I suspect the triangles as well as quite possibly being man-made. Let's face it, we didn't really start until the Hudson Valley sightings in the early 80s, did they? So that sounds to me like we've made a breakthrough in technology, and we're using. They've been seen from the 80s onwards, from Hudson Valley onwards, all the way through today.
But I think
it's getting seen all the time. I think that's a military thing.
I think there's two types of triangles, though. I think there's the stealth blimp triangles, and then you got the real triangles with the extra cooling and vents on it to create a electromagnetic effect, which allows for anti-gravity to work well. Lighter the mass is more I'm going with, which we covered with.
If you listen to some of the reports on these triangles, they don't sound very man-made at all. I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what to make out of it.
I said most of them are probably man-made, but there's going to be a few that maybe not.
Exactly.
Anyway, you got to listen to what I'm saying. Anyway, I'll just read out the next bit.
1. Investigate individual components of the electrical system in a simulated environment to establish the level of ionization required to produce high-voltage sparks and low-voltage arcs. 2. Attempt to disrupt running engines with simulated sources of ionization, such as a radioactive source lowered into the engine compartment and, particularly, near the distributor. 3. Measure the ionization produced by microwave radiation over a broad range of wavelengths and intensities. Then flood a running engine with ionizing microwaves, measuring the level of ionization and microwave intensity. Determine the values required to produce engine malfunction and stoppage. Test the present hypothesis concerning self-starts and measure the relevant factors. This program, while modest, could go far toward elucidating the observed phenomena and, more importantly, quantifying the radiation that may be emanating from UFOs. Should results prove to be unproductive, then research can be redirected away from microwave radiation in continuing efforts to understand the numerous puzzling details of UFO reports.
So that's that one done with. So what are you doing, Robert? Yeah. It sounds like you're building something on your table there. Are you eating something, are you?
No, I'm not eating, Paul.
Oh, we can't see your camera, so we don't know what you're up to.
No, I'm doing all kinds of stretching exercises here to try and relieve that pain. Which is why I'm a bit cranky today, that's all. Just taking out on you, okay? Ha!
You always take it out on me.
No.
Yeah, I do. I need like a little fly whopper that I can whack Rob on the screen with. So, So what we go on to now? Onto that Poland one?
Anyone that's listening can have a look at who's wrote that article. It's quite easily found. But yeah. Hold on. That's yeah. Oh right, you got it. Okay.
I've
You
got
got
it.
all the pictures.
I couldn't wait for you, so I tried to find it another way.
I've already got it in here.
I already posted it anyway. We're going back to this one here.
2006. Photographs of metallic object taken near Zdani, Poland.
Now, a lot of people think this one's real, but I don't think there's anything in this picture, is there? I think it's just looking down on rocks and trees there and lakes.
I think that's just that picture's just giving you the region, you know.
That's what I'm saying. So we'll go for the full report, but this is the object question, and it looks like two bowls stuck together to me, but we need to see if we can zoom in on that. Something's a bit fishy about this one. And we've seen similar to this before with people using models on invisible cord. Well, the camera doesn't pick it up. If you get really lightweight fishing line, you can't see it, as well as you can get Kevlar and Teflon coated Kevlar, which makes it sort of slide, makes it easier to deal with. And that's extremely small. That's half a human hair, I think. Kevlar, and it's quite strong. Stronger than nylon fishing wire, anyway. And you can see here the object seems to be near the tree, closer to where their car is parked. So this is part of their car here, I think. What side are we looking at here? And the door. Front door open there, is it?
Is that the wing mirror on the left? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. The door's opened up here. So now they're taking another photograph as it's drifted off, apparently. And then we got this other one where the back door is lifted up of the car. And you can see a jet flying past towards the sun there. And the object seems to be further away. And then we got some close-up snaps of it here, where you can see it kind of looks like a beaten up pot and pan. See if we can zoom right in on it. You can see it's got a few dents on it. It's got a flat bottom, which you would have on a dish, wouldn't you? And that one there is a side view of it. So you can see here, if it's on fishing line, that you ain't going to see it. Even on HD camera, you can't see.
No chance.
Fishing
line. No, the the fishing line is generally made of nylon, and it does glint in the sun.
Yeah,
that's the other you've got.
Yeah, it depends though how fine it is and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
But you can get, like I said, Kevlar. You can get multiple colours. You can get black. And
or you could use blue fishing line, which is much stronger at a lower diameter.
Well, you can even get coloured fishing line, which is blue colour, right?
Oh God, yeah, I know that.
So that makes it blends in with the sky. You see, straight away makes it really hard. And then what's that one there? That one's missing for some reason. And there's the back of the car again. Now, why would you get out the car to photograph? Obviously, it wasn't a digital camera, was it? Was it a digital camera or a normal camera on this one? 2006. I suppose it could be a digital one, couldn't it? So, yeah, early digital cameras, probably 3 megapixel, about $1,500. But you can see here the back of the car is lifted up here. And why would you open up the back of the car? So that's another clue there, which is a bit suspect to me, which adds to what... And there's another thing where it's on a little tilt, which you'd get on a fishing line if it's on some sort of wire system. That means it's...
You know, compare that to the people who were jumping out and hiding behind the car. You know, these guys have...
So let's just read out the story here about the wedding party. It's quite big. I'll just read that out there, and then I'll go through my debunk of it. Maybe you should just do that chunk.
It is Sunday, January the 8th, 2006. Two men are returning from a wedding party. Both asked for their anonymity to be preserved, so we shall only use their first names. Macelia Matthew, 65, is driving, and Spicek, 60, sits in the passenger seat. The atmosphere in the car is merry. The passenger is actually still very tipsy. And an important factor in the whole story, he has a still camera, quite good at that, an Olympus. He was using the camera to photograph dancing couples, but on this day it will turn out that having it enabled him to take one of the best UFO photographs in the world. They drive towards a town called Terispol, or to be more precise, towards a smaller town called Midzek Podlaski. It is approx. 12:30 when their navy blue Polonais car approaches the so-called black spot, so-called because for many years there have been many tragic road accidents happening in this exact place. This detail may turn out to be of great importance. The spot is situated at the International European Route E30, 10 kilometers behind the city of Seidels as one drives towards Terispol, approximately where the villages of Stani and Zbachin Podachony are located. Seeing the black spot, they slow down, but suddenly, less than 100 yards away, they see something big, metallic and shiny flying across the road. Matthew, who is driving the car, is convinced that some kids are making fun of drivers by throwing a huge bowl. A moment later the car's engine stops. There is, however, another detail that must not escape our attention. Another car is running behind with Russian registration plates, a passenger minibus, and its engine stops at exactly the same moment. Both drivers step out of their cars, open the hood and try to start their engines. Zbicek, the passenger, also steps out of the car. He is holding a camera. It's a perfect opportunity. In the cloudless sky a condensation trail of a jet plane is clearly visible. Without much thinking, he starts taking pictures, but he suddenly notices something strange slowly moving over the fields. The object is big, about 2 meters in diameter, and it reminds two bowls welded together at the edges. It is metallic. Sunlight is reflected from its surface. No engine can be heard. There is no fumes or smoke, but a very strong wind starts blowing in gusts. It is also of importance, as there was no wind so strong on that day. Zbicek starts making pictures of the unidentified object. At one point the UFO starts a swift ascent and instantly flies away. All in all, the two bowls were moving around the two cars for almost 8 minutes. When the object disappears, the engines of both cars start with no problems.
Yeah, so I did have a look at these images. So, 2 bolts. Are they talking about 2 bowls, or are they talking about 2 bowls stuck together? There. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So what I did is I actually found a bowl that looks very similar to theirs, right? With the flat bottom. Yeah, it's got the flat bottom. So for that one's copper. And I've sort of merged it together to show how it would go if you're going to fake it. And each of the images I looked at, what was that bit there? Right, Kevlar. We want to know whether it is conductive, because we got power poles in the picture there, and how easy it would be to use Kevlar as well as nylon. I think nylon's not conductive either, isn't it? Unless it's wet, and of course Kevlar is the same. It talks about here. In such applications, a waterproof coating is applied to the Kevlar. So,
you know, Paul, I think it was on a fishing line, mate. I don't think you need to go that deep.
Yeah, but I think fishing nylon's non-conductive, isn't it? So unless it's wet, nylon.
Why would it have to be non-conductive?
Because the power lines are the key here, which I'll go over. Non-conductive. Let's see. When dry, polymer is a good electrical insulator, so there you go. Absorption of water will change some of the material's properties. But how can nylon absorb water? I suppose it might. So there you go. It's non-conductive. So next picture we look at is this one near the tree. Which one was that one? This one here was the first one. So this is what I'm showing you. It can be done with 2 lines to the model. So
Yeah.
there's a pole of some kind here, all the trees being used, and this other one's going off to the power pole that's off the shot here. So we go on to the next one, which is where the car thing is up. So how would it get further away from the screen? Well, they simply use 2 lines, but this time the fishing line, or the Kevlar, is over top of the car on the other side. So it means they've got a movable pole and weren't using the tree. But the other side of it goes over the pole here, which they could easily throw something over it with a lead weight, right? And use that pole there to pull that object closer towards the pole so it looks like it's going further away, because we're not seeing a video of it in real time, right? So
no, that was the first thing that alarmed me about that case. One, that the UFO looked like a piece of shit, basically, and 2, the power lines. I thought, and the trees. I thought they could all be used to, hang something. And
are you going to let me?
It's in a remote area as well, isn't it? So they could have had your time to set this up.
So here's the power pole here, and the other power pole we saw in the other photograph, which is way over here. And this time they've released some of the line off through the power pole and gone to the other pole, which I believe is a fishing caster, which I've got a picture of it here, of that particular scene. So you can see these fishing casters, surf casters, are quite long, can be really long, and that would explain why the back of the car was open, to get out of this long fishing pole that they had in the car, right? For faking the scene, because that's the only reason why you'd have the back of the door open, is to get something out. So if you can imagine, this is somewhere near the tree here, and of course he just winds it in and out while the other person keeps the tension on the other side of the string, and then the third person, was it 3 people? The third one takes a photograph and just make sure it doesn't glint with the sun. Of course, you can see here the sun.
The more you take up that slack with the fishing rod, it's going to lift in elevation, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can change the angle here, so this appears above and below. It's quite easy when you see it done this way, and this is how Billy Meyer did some of his ones as well as he did a horizontal line with another line going around it, so you could do it one-handed. But yeah, you can see how easy it is to fake stuff when you understand how to do the illusion. So here's another one, which is, I'm talking about where the rod is on the other side of the car, just to show where it would be going, and they just release off some of the line as they pull on the other one. They have the other third person would be over here somewhere, out of shot, right? Below the picture.
And of course, we'll put any timestamp on the film.
Yeah, that's right. We got no video for this, so but there's the jet contrail going through that way. And what else did we have? I think that was pretty much it, wasn't it? Tree one. Did I miss any? That one there, where it's lower. So all they do is have to release some of the fishing line so it drops below.
Yeah, give it some slack and it drops.
Yeah. You say, well, are you sure that you can do that with fishing wire? Well, we've looked at these. We've looked at these ones before online, with the toy UFOs that you can spin around from like a few feet away from people and film it on camera, and you don't see the wire at all. That's with even using fishing line as well as Kevlar. So you got a UFO toy, which we've played before. If I can find it, where they spin it around. Kevlar. My mystery UFO hovering toys. Let's have a look at that one. So it's these ones here, where you put the cable on. I probably need to scale that down a bit. But they do have videos of how to do it, where it sort of looks like hovering in front of people, and you can film it in HD and you don't see the cable if you've got the right color cord and the right lighting when you're doing the video. Videos. Let's see, where's that one that we did before, where the guy demonstrates it? Not that one. These ones obviously are using sensors and electric motors, not cords. And of course, we've talked about that before with the Russian hoax, where he lifts it up on cables and you can't see the cables as well. We've done it in previous. So it's got all the new ones. We want the hand one controlled. Let's see, mystery. Is that the one? It had a special name. I don't know. Let's have a look at that one. There we go. So here's someone demonstrating it with obviously modern camera, because it's 2015. I'll slow it down. You can see what it's doing. I suppose it's some sort of ad. Oh, it's got some music on it. So where's the cords, guys? You see how good you can do this sort of stuff. So you could easily do that bowl out with fishing rod and wire. And now we're talking about really close up with HD camera there. You know it's on a cord because you can see the physics of it, right? So how did they let it go there, right? So you can see the physics of it. It's definitely on a cable, right? But how are they doing that? Well, apparently it's attached to his ear and a loop, and it goes around to the toy that he spins around, right? So you can't see it, but it's actually attached to his ear, and he's using his hands to lift it up and spin it around, you see? And you can see how that looked like it was on a cord then. But you can't see the cord, is what I'm trying to say. So these guys definitely hoaxed it, in my opinion. Everything fits my diagrams. And I know a lot of UFO channels out there said it was credible sighting and all that, but I call BS on this one. Something was not right about it. You can see here how it's on a tilt, right? So if it's between two wires, they've lifted up the rod one too much and it's sort of off balance when they took the picture. And that one there, obviously they've got it sort of balanced right, so it's now side on to us. And likewise, you can see that looks like it's on a cord, right? Going up this way. It looks like the direction, so that means that the fishing line must be up this direction here, and the one going to the power poles going this direction here. So it's on a slope. So they probably attached the fishing wire one side here, one side there, right? And they can control any aspect of it all. But yeah, that's me done with that one. So
yeah, it's not give Paul a compliment, but I have to say that was good work. Damn good work.
But when you debunk these things like that on a regular basis, it becomes a bit more clearer, right? How would you fake it? And is there anything in that picture that would make you think it was a UFO? No, because they got a digital camera. Obviously, it couldn't do video mode, which I find a bit strange. But they didn't say what model number it was, so we haven't got all the details there fully.
In 2008, it would have had video mode, which is suspicious in itself.
I thought it was 2006, but it doesn't really matter. Give or take a year.
No, it would still have had video mode.
Yeah. Normally you take a video and then you take some snapshots of the area too, because that's got the extra metadata on. So, what was the next cases after this one? Because we're up to 2.5 hours now. Which was the other cases that you're going to bring up?
Okay, all right then. We do one more?
We do what we're going to do.
We'll do what we're going to do? Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Until my brain blows up.
Mine's already blown up. There's no point anymore.
I know you probably saw.
That's all right. Okay, the Alabama UFO Cessna collision 2002. Oh, hell, I've got the wrong tab.
Alabama, whereabouts is that in America?
Southfish, isn't it?
I don't know. Let's have a look. See, I don't know. Was Alabama? Oh, they got a place in California, Alabama Hills, USA. Let's see, where's that go? There it is, Tennessee.
Yeah.
That looks like Bigfoot country there, isn't it? Or was it swampy land? Oh, that's where they get all those cyclones going across, isn't it? Through that part. Probably not the best place to live, really, is it? Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, Atlanta. So that's going up to the top of Kentucky, isn't it? Yeah, getting close. And then we get into the Mothman area there. So we're talking about a UFO on this one. So we better post up the link. Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to paste it since I've modified it here. They've got to do something with that font on the video screen. So 2002. I suppose we could just read out underneath. So this sounds a bit like the Australian one where you got approached by a UFO. Huh? What was
No,
this?
it's nothing like that, you know. But there was a radio transcript. I just have to go to the toilet while you read out that first bit.
You always go in the toilet.
Yeah, I know.
Federal investigators have determined that a single-engine delivery plane that crashed into Big Bateau Bay on October 23, 2002, slammed into something 3,000 feet above the Mobileton Saw Delta moments earlier. They're just not sure what it was. The highly unusual National Transportation Safety Board account points to unidentified red marks on the severely damaged nose and front belly of the plane as evidence that it hit another object in the air. The crash killed 54-year-old pilot Thomas J. Preziosi of Mobile minutes after he took off from downtown airport. Agency officials don't know of any other accident that we have in our files that states collision with an unknown object, said Keith Holloway, a spokesman for the NTSB, which investigates all domestic air accidents. I've never seen a report like that, said Don Godwin, a veteran pilot and chief executive officer of Mid-Atlantic Freight, which owned the plane. And it's very troubling to have something like this happen and not know what caused it. I know the family's upset, and understandably upset. It's just a great thing that this kind of thing didn't happen to an airliner with a bunch of people on it.
Where did we get down to?
Yeah, so it was only at 3,000 feet, and whatever hit him, and this is the troubling part of it, Paul. The engine block was sliced in half. Now, the engine block will survive a fall from 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, onto a hard surface.
Are you
and the
sure?
engine block, yes, it will. I looked it up. Yeah. 3,000
Sneaky.
feet.
Okay. So was there any videos you found where they're actually dropping an engine from high up to see how it withstands?
No, you only have to look at the aircraft investigation stuff to realise that just doesn't happen, you know. And the interesting thing about this, whatever hit it, seemed to, you know, with all that kinetic energy, seemed to survive. Well, it did survive the impact, because there was no wreckage from anything else ever found. Just the poor Cessna smashed to bits.
Mm.
And whatever the other object was never picked up on radar either, which is unusual.
Mm.
And to this day, it's a UFO without a question, and I mean that in the purest sense of the word, as in it's an light, and it was obviously flying.
Was there
to be at 3,000.
any radar comms where the pilot's talking about UFO at all?
Yeah. I don't think we have an actual live. They won't do that for the family's sake, you know. But we know what he said. We know what his words were.
So why would a UFO cut an engine block in half? It'd have to be done with a laser, surely.
Keep going, and we'll get a better idea of what might have happened.
Where do I get to, though?
I need to take care of that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. I think it's this paragraph here. Just go down. It's quite a long one, this one, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm only doing the one article and that discussion. So
there was a third one. What was the third one?
Oh, I think there's a Zanfretta Abduction. We can do that if you want.
Oh, we'll see how we go.
I've never seen a report like that, said Don Godwin, a veteran pilot and chief executive officer of Mid-Atlantic Freight, which owned the plane. And it's very troubling to have something like this happen and not know what caused it. I know the family's upset, and understandably upset. It's just a great thing that this kind of thing didn't happen to an airliner with a bunch of people on it. The report, released within the past few days, also notes that malfunctioning radar recording equipment hampered efforts to determine the exact cause of the accident. Moreover, an air traffic controller at Mobile Regional Airport apparently gave incorrect positions to Precios about the location of a DC-10 in the area, according to the recently released report, officially called a finding of facts. A Federal Aviation Administration official at Mobile Regional Airport said Tuesday afternoon he wasn't aware of any equipment malfunctions. He deferred further comment to officials who had left for the day. The 5-page report states that the FedEx DC-10 doesn't appear to have been involved in the collision. Investigators examined it the day after the crash and found it unscathed. That lack of damage, however, deepens the mystery as to what happened to Precios' Cessna 208B cargo master. Experienced pilot, Precios was a veteran pilot for the New York City Police Department and had been an instructor on the Cessna 208 for the Pan Am Flight Academy in Memphis, according to the report. He had worked for several months for Mid-Atlantic Freight, the company contracting with DHL, and had flown the same route numerous times. An autopsy revealed no drugs or alcohol in his system. The plane, which had passed a routine FAR inspection a few days earlier, the report states, disappeared from radar about 15 minutes of taking off from Mobile Downtown Airport at Brooklyn around 7:30 p.m. flying under contract for the delivery company DHL Worldwide Express. It was bound for Montgomery bearing 420 pounds of business documents. About 10 minutes after takeoff, Precios, using the call sign Night Ship 282, switched from talking to the control tower at Brooklyn to the FAR tower at Mobile Regional Airport, a standard procedure, according to Bay Haas, Executive Director of the Mobile Airport Authority. His agency maintains and staffs the Brooklyn Tower, while the FAR operates the Mobile Regional Tower, he said. A DC-10 ahead, as Prezios climbed northeast through the overcast sky, relying on instruments to take him to his cruising altitude of 3,000 feet, the Mobile Regional Controller alerted him to the presence of the DC-10, which was 7 miles straight in front of him, flying at 4,000 feet and inbound for Brooklyn, according to a transcript of the chatter contained in the report. Prezios acknowledged it.
Yeah, you want to say anything there so far?
Well, the DC-10 was apparently at least 1,000 feet above and off to his left, whatever direction that would have been. So, and I mean, even a small aircraft like a Cessna, if it had hit a DC-10, there would have been at least severe damage to the DC-10, and that would have been a flying accident, and it would have all come out in the wash, no problem at all. And it would have probably, to be honest, something. I mean, a bird strike can bring a plane down. I mean, a Cessna running into it, all that kinetic energy. Jesus, it would have brought the DC-10 down as well, almost certainly.
Yeah, it normally shuts down the engine because it catches fire normally. But a bird strike won't cut an engine in half, though. Like a
No, I don't mean that. I'm just saying, like, if it did happen to have collided with DC-10, I think it would have taken the DC-10 out as well. Yeah. That would have come down, and that would have been a hell of a shame because, you know, there could have been hundreds of passengers on board there. Well, DC-10 can crash on their own, but no, I don't think it was anything to do with DC-10, despite the confusion there, the wrong coordinates.
Well, I don't know how an engine block would get cut in half.
Exactly.
I'm
not saying it was definitely two pieces.
We're not saying it was cut where the bolts are. We're saying it's cut the opposite direction.
Well, just have a look on Google Images what an engine block looks like. Aircraft engine block looks like.
Well, it's one step ahead of you. Engine block.
Aircraft engine block.
Well, engine block starters.
Okay.
Well, we could put Cessna in. Is it Cessna? No. Probably have less images though. Here we go. Where's the engine block? That one. No. Is that the engine block? Here we go. What's that one say?
No, you can tell an engine block when you see one, Paul, can't you?
Well, look like an engine on the side here. Yeah, that one didn't actually work. Let's see. We have to go back to engine block.
Aircraft engine block.
Well, you want to put aircraft in.
There you go.
That one
there? You did a good one. No.
Big block. So I'm thinking that it was cut in half this direction, right?
Oh, you've got the wrong image there.
Well, that's the whole engine now of an aircraft. Propeller one,
yeah.
I guess.
Okay, but it doesn't give you any proper... There you go, look. There you go. That's the one you want. That's an engine block.
Yeah, but I'm talking. That's only half an engine block, though. You see what I mean? That's where the cylinders would go in. Then you have the other half clamped on with bolts. What I'm trying to say is,
it's just quite obvious. That is one hell of a big, meaty, nasty thing, isn't it? To be cut in half.
Yeah, but we're saying it's not cut through where the bolts go. See these holes here, this is where all the bolts would go for the other half of it. Depends which way. Was it cut through the bolts that direction, or was it cut through the bolts the other direction, which means you're going through solid mass here. Well, the bolts would be the weakest point, is what I'm saying. Like if it was cut down the middle here, right? That's going to be a solid part, where you get two halves of the engine off either side, right?
Yeah.
Like you cut it with a knife, that direction there, right? Opposed to where the bolts are, which are the weakest points.
Yeah, you're saying that's the weakest link.
Yeah. So the bolts go in this direction, this way. So if it was cut in half that way, through that direction, then that's cutting through the bolts. But if it's cut through this direction here, through the solid metal, that changes it completely, you know. But then again, here with they would know if it was cut versus the bolts being sheared, right? Snapped in half, because it would have a different. The bolts would be nice and smooth if it was cut through the bolts, like an angle grinder, rather than if they snapped, where they leave jagged bits. Bit hard to explain, but anyway. So did I read that? No, I didn't read out that last bit there. I think
a minute later, the controller told Precios the DC-10, now just 2 miles from the Cessna, had crossed the smaller plane's path and remained at 4,000 feet. Roger, I got him above me right now, Precios replied, apparently confirming he saw the FedEx plane. But seconds later, the report states, he came back on the air, I needed to deviate, I needed to deviate, I needed to deviate, I needed. A commercial frog hunter in an I-boat assisting Alabama Marine Police and Coast Guard crews found the wreckage around midnight, resting in shallow water, about 1 mile north of the Mobile Bay Causeway. The wings were shattered, and most of the front of the plane was little more than fragments. The impact of that collision disintegrated that airplane before it hit the water out there, Godwin said. Engine split in half, the Pratt & Whitney engine block was split in two, the report states. Godwin called that a strong indicator of a violent impact. That's a big deal. That airplane could fall out of the sky and hit concrete, and it's unlikely it would have broken the engine in half like that. The NTSB report details the agency's attempts to find the source of the red marks on the Cessna. Investigators sent fragments with the markings to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio for testing. The markings were compared to other materials from the plane, including red paint and a red cargo bag. The tests also examined paint from an unmanned aerial vehicle, apparently to determine whether the Cessna had struck a military drone. Similar tests were performed by the U.S. Aircraft Insurance Group, which took custody of the wreckage in February, with similar results, the report states. The main result from the investigation is that the material in the red streaks on the skin of the accident airplane was significantly different from the other materials that were examined for comparison, the report states. Additionally, investigators were unable to identify the source of a small piece of what appeared to be black anodized aluminum, which was found embedded in the left wing near the fuselage, the report states. There's definitely no chance that the particular incident involved one of our drones, said First Lieutenant Sage Park, a spokeswoman for the 53rd Wing, which operates unmanned airplanes out of Tyndall Air Force Base in the Florida Panhandle. Those drones do not fly as far west as the Mobile area, she said. A spokeswoman at Allen Air Force Base, farther west in the Panhandle, said squadrons there also generally do their testing over the Gulf of Mexico and do not venture into airspace near Mobile. Neither of the Air Force officials nor a spokesman at Naval Air Station Pensacola could immediately confirm whether units based there were conducting aircraft or missile tests when the Cessna crashed, although all said it was unlikely for various reasons. The Navy spokesman said the Pensacola station has radar that reaches Mobile, although it is generally monitored for activity in the Gulf rather than near Mobile. The accident report does not indicate whether investigators sought radar data from any of the military installations. Based on the limited radar information they could find, investigators concluded the Cessna never crossed paths with the DC-10, contrary to what the air traffic controller told Precios, the report states. Greg Breedlove, a lawyer with the mobile firm Cunningham Bounds, said his firm has been retained by Prezios's family and is examining several possibilities, including that the Cessna simply got caught in turbulence caused by the FedEx plane.
But how'd the engine get cut in half?
By turbulence, really, at 3,000 feet. Okay, yeah, well, we can put that one to one side. But another thing there, why the hell would they be sending the wreckage to Wright-Patterson? We know how interesting that is with UFOs, don't we?
Well, something collided with it. They didn't crash, which is kind of strange.
Well,
unless it was a blip, and that
you know,
would still stay.
I know the military died. It was a drone. Yes.
I don't think it would have been a drone, unless it was like a hypersonic one, traveling fast enough to cut in half. But there would have been some debris left behind.
Of course, there would. The fact they weren't able to identify.
Hi, Chris. How's it going? We caught the end of this. Well, we got one more. We got one more bit to talk about abduction case after this one.
Well, we need to talk about this for a little bit first.
I thought we were pretty much done with it, though.
Yeah, you've gone through the text, Paul, but discussion isn't over, is it?
Well, what else you wanted to talk about? This unknown case where the engine got cut in half.
Happened, then there's no point, is there? It's not just about reading text. So, okay, if it was a military drone, where was the wreckage from that? Surely it couldn't survive hitting the Cessna, hitting it that hard, so hard that it destroyed it. Well, cut the engine block in half. It should have come down with the plane, but there was no wreckage of anything. So I'll just recap on that. What I'm saying is, whatever hit it seemed to survive the crash. Now, could it have been a missile? Well, no, actually, I don't think it could be, because a missile causes tremendous heat. But there was no evidence of that on the Cessna.
Yeah, I don't know.
So whatever it survived, and I mean, this story in 2002, it just went away quite quickly. Like, you know, it caused a stir at the time. And of course, the pilot seen it coming. That's another thing. For his last words were, I have to do that. I have to divert. I have to divert. I have to ban. And he's gone. End of.
Yeah, they're saying at the end here it could be a drug runner. A drug plane that wasn't. But then again, it should have shown up on radar. Unless it's below radar, which it shouldn't be, because it's at the same altitude as the plane. That was on radar, wasn't it? So it also had call sign. So they can disable the call sign, so it doesn't show up there. But the radar is another thing. So I don't think it could be drug runners.
No. Well, a drug runner wouldn't be flying around anything too special, would he? It would just be a similar aircraft to a Cessna. So if it collided with it, you know, that yeah, there would have been lots of wreckage.
Yeah. To slice it in half, it had to either be some sort of cable between two objects floating in the sky where it passed through. Could that have been like a weather balloon with some sort of cable in coming down that somehow managed to slice the engine?
Well, don't be daft.
Well, not being daft. That seems to be a more logical explanation there. If it's not.
So you're saying you drop down the craft and cut the engine block in half?
Yeah, look, I'll draw you a quick picture.
That's not happening.
Quick picture. We got again. Because we haven't tried this on the new setup yet. So you got a balloon. Where's a balloon? What can we use for a balloon? Well, do a circle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's there. And as you know, they've normally got cables underneath, so it might have been some military experiment where they've got a sort of cable coming down, which means the plane would have had to... So they would have had a payload of some kind here. And that's why there wouldn't be any wreckage, right? Because the cable would act like a cheese wire through a block of cheese, right?
What?
You know, you cut cheese with wire? Or don't you have
Jesus. What are we doing? They're flying balloons with cheese wires in between.
that? No, I said they got a metal wire here. If it impacted... Where's the plane icon? What's that one say? I can't see a plane icon. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Right next to the planet. Well, we've got to go in the wrong direction though. But we can have it going this way. So if that went straight through... But if he saw that coming towards him... and then they got a payload at the bottom, which gives it some weight. Maybe it was some sort of experimental where they were lifting up some tank underneath the balloon system. There's like a deployment, so that would be enough weight to hold that cable to slice it through the plane itself.
We might take a wing off.
No, it could get, if it was dead on the engine, right? It's going to slice the engine block in half.
Oh, this is crazy.
I know you don't like me debunking.
That's not a debunk, Paul. That is comedy.
Well,
this is comedy.
No. I see things differently.
Yeah, so it's two the cheese wire that's cut the Cessna in half and the engine block as well.
Yep.
I'll never see cheese wire in the same light again, I tell you.
Well, it's the same wire they use on suspension bridges, right?
Have a look at that last link I sent you there.
You're so much a believer, Rob.
No, I'd like to know what happened, and it wasn't that.
My theory's better than a drug runner, and that's why there wouldn't be any debris, right? They just simply slice the plane in half, and that would just drift off on its own. And the government probably knew that it collided with their experimental mogul balloon. So you want me to put another link in, do you? I thought we could be done with this one, but very quickly, because we need to move on to the last one and shut down. We've got the sun coming up here now. Course of the Alabama crash. Well, I've already explained what caused it, the balloon.
Just look at the wreckage there.
Yeah,
scroll down a bit. Yeah, no, scroll down a bit, I think.
Was that the one or not? Are you saying that's not the wreckage?
Yeah, that's the one. Blow it up. I mean, it doesn't look like a cheese wire wreckage to me.
Where's the engine? Where's the engine block on that though? Let's have a look. I'm just trying to... Is that the propeller end, this end, or what? No, it's not, is it? There's the front end on the other side, on the left side here. See, that's not the propeller, is it? There. Is it or not?
The propeller, of course, is at the front of the plane. You can still see it.
Is that the propeller? I'm pointing to it with the pointer. The big mouse pointer you should be looking at. Or is that the front end over this side? Because it's the arse end is gone if that's the case. I don't know. That doesn't look like it's gone through an engine block though.
Anyway, this cheese wire must have had like a reddish kind of coating on it that nobody knew about.
Well, what's that there on the front of the plane? That's red, isn't it?
Hmm?
I'm just trying to make sense of what that is, which way around it is. I think that's the rear end we're looking at here, and the front ends.
Yeah.
The front ends
Yeah,
here.
Could be. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But
it's a bit hard to tell.
It hasn't been cut cleanly in half, obviously, has it? It's a mess, and it's landed in a swamp.
Yeah.
No, that's something big.
I'm just trying to wonder which side is the front, which one's the back. It's a bit hard for me to tell. But there, that looks like where the engine was, the left-hand side up here. That's where the engine block was there. That looks like it was the tail end. That could be a propeller, but it could be from the front, pushed underneath, right? And it doesn't look like something collided with it at the front there. It went straight through the engine block. Whatever it was, we don't know. Do you want me to read out this to you?
No, not really. We're just going over the same stuff then. But you can go to the last two paragraphs and read them out if you'd like, Paul, please.
Last two.
I don't know how you get bored with a case like this. You're sighing away. I mean, it's totally unexplained, but it's not standard for some reason.
Yeah.
Anything that's unexplained. But I'm not having you check my explanation.
Well, I don't think it's been properly investigated. Did they
check it's properly investigated.
No, did they check for radiation?
No, well, it went to Patterson. A lot of things go into Patterson, but not a lot comes out. And that was Hynek's statement.
Let's just read out the last paragraph then.
We believe that the most likely cause of this tragedy of Tom's death was wake vortices or wake turbulence, he said. Wake turbulence, the tornado-like whine that comes off a plane's wings, can cause aircraft behind to crash. So what accounts for the red transfer marks? In an effort to determine if they came from a collision, or something else, like the crane that moved the debris, the NTSB is mapping the marks on a three-dimensional drawing of the plane. The board has also retaken possession of the wreckage and will re-examine radar data.
Well, that's all there was. So where to now, Master Rob?
We can move on now to the, what's his name again? Zanfretta Abductions,
Yeah, everybody likes their abductions. Before my brain sits down, we're coming up to 3 hours though. But we'll finish it off. We lost 44 minutes, unfortunately. With all
we did.
The crazy PC problem that we had. So where's your link to it then?
Okay. Let's go.
Where's Zach? He must have fallen asleep. And Shelley, I'm not sure where she's gone. What's time in America right now? Must be getting on.
Jesus, yeah.
Let's see. 3. Let's see.
Well, some of them are now.
I think it must be 8 a.m. California, and it must be something like 11, maybe lunchtime the other side. So yeah, there should be more people around there. We'll finish off with the abduction story, because nothing beats a alien abduction story. And what's abnormal about this one? We got some pictures, and they got some sideboards, as they call sideburns. Almost looks like a German page, this one, doesn't it? Oh, well, let's start reading it off then.
Yeah.
If it'll let us select it. Something going on here. Guess what? It's one of these pages you can't select, I think.
Yeah.
Let me just
Please don't read too much out in one go, please, Paul.
If I can get it to select, I'm not sure if it's text. It looks like it's all graphics, so you can't copy it. It's not selecting, don't think, unless it's got a strange font.
Well, I can always do that, even if they've got graphics next to them. I don't have any trouble.
It's not selecting it. See how we can select these ones? No, there's something strange going on. Strange going on here.
Yeah.
It won't let me right click. They've done something to the right click. They're little rat bags. Rat bags.
It's okay, we can read it.
I think it might be graphics, but then the right click's been disabled too. Don't tell me I have to find a program to, what's that say about content? Come up with a thing there. Sometimes you can get around that with the cache page. Or show it as, get rid of the security there. It's got some alerts popping up here. What's this one here?
I've got the tab open here and
blocked. Here we go. This is what the problem is. Load unsafe scripts. Ooh, naughty, naughty. Fourth kind. I wonder what it's doing. It's planting cookies. Load unsafe scripts. Okay. See what happens. Maybe it's going to work now. No. Robert, you're giving us one that's complicated.
Wow, I never expected that. That's okay.
Oh, if you want to read it out, you can read it out if you want. Where do you want to start?
We ain't got a choice.
Well, do you want bigger font? Because I'm struggling now with my eyes.
Yeah, no problem. It's all right like that. You know, private security guard Pierre Zanfretta was the victim of 5 extraordinary abductions that took place in Genoa, Italy, 1978 to 1980. He was regressed hypnotically after each occurrence and even voluntarily subjected to truth serum, which is sodium pentanol, isn't it? That's okay, which helped to validate his amazing stories during his missing time. His abductors left him with a very incredible artifact, which he has kept hidden away since his acquisition. Though the media ridiculed his claims, his documented story made the population of Italy wonder what could be lurking in the clouds. Yeah, that's unusual, you know, for someone to survive. That's a lot harder to fill than a lie detector test. Yeah, it's a strange one.
Was he on a lie detector test? Are you saying?
He passed both.
Truth serum.
It's amazing. Yes, yeah.
Alright.
Okay, during a frigid December evening, Zanfretta was starting a routine drive from a client's uninhabited country home near Torriglio, Italy. His duties suddenly came to a halt when his car and all the electronics died without warning in front of the vacant house. Well, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that part of the story. In the unexpected darkness, he noticed 4 lights moving through the garden and reluctantly decided to investigate the situation. He drew his gun and quietly crept along the side of the house to surprise even the trespassers. Something touched him from behind and he jerked around and raised his flashlight to reveal the face of an enormous green creature towering above him. In horror, he fumbled his flashlight and ran back to his car. Behind him, a brilliant light emerged from the shadow of the empty cottage, shielding his eyes. He turned to look and witnessed a giant triangular craft slowly ascending into the air. Triangular? 1978. My God, that's even before Hudson Valley. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to say that is interesting.
Where did we get to?
Yeah, his car radio came back on. That's the bit where you need to go to.
There you go.
Yeah. His car radio came back on and he quickly radioed the Centre of Operations for help. The operator, Carlo Taccolino, took the call at 12:15 a.m., noting that Zanfretta was hysterical and speaking in broken phrases. My God, are they ugly? Zanfretta repeated. They aren't men. They aren't men. Transmission was then abruptly disconnected, and after a few attempts to re-establish contact, Toccolino called the security chief, who dispatched 2 guards to investigate the situation. Okay. About 1 hour later, at 1:15 a.m., Officer Walter Laurier and Raimondo and Massia found Zanfretta lying on the ground and warm to the touch, despite the freezing December air. As if snapping out of a trance, Zanfretta popped to his feet with his weapon and flashlight, up in a panic, eyes bulging and disorientated. He was swiftly disarmed and taken back to his operations centre for examination.
Yeah.
It's got a ring of truth to it, hasn't it? As bizarre as it sounds.
Okay. What did I scroll to then? So we got down to operation, situation. So this one here, last chunk, is it? Oh no, it's quite a lot of chunks to it.
Yeah. What is it, Paul?
There you go, I lined it up. 1 hour later?
No, we got the first bit there. The following day, Italian military police began their investigation into the events that occurred, taking this photograph of these incredible, 9-foot diameter parallel horseshoe-shaped indentations, probably moving it around in the behind the cottage. Zanfretta's commanding officer and friend, Antonia Nucci, discovered during the inspection that an astonishing 52 witnesses all described seeing bright lights in the direction of Zanfretta's incident the night before. Now, there you've got corroborating evidence, haven't you? And there seems to be, if you can scroll down a bit further, yeah, I know you're looking at the picture. Yeah, go for it a little bit closer.
Doesn't look too exciting picture to me.
Well, I mean, it's an old black and white picture, isn't it?
Parallel horseshoe shape. I think we need a further away shot, you know what I mean? To see the horseshoe shape. If it goes right around.
The ideal.
We've got horrible writing here. I'm not sure if you can see that. You can't even highlight it. Because we've been banned on this site for some reason. Brave won't let us access it. I can state with certainty that he is a clear-thinking man with no strange fantasies in his head. When we went to investigate the scene the next day, he almost didn't want to come. He was scared. Only something exceptional could have frightened him so. Okay, so we got that bit. Zanfretta agreed to undergo hypnosis therapy. Sorry?
I'll do that, you know.
Okay.
Zanfretta agreed to undergo hypnosis therapy by psychotherapist and member of the Italian Association of Medical Hypnosis, Dr. Mauro Moretti. On December the 23rd, he recalled being conscious in a bright and humid space, crowned with a bizarre helmet, but continually left him in much discomfort. He evoked a seemingly one-sided conversation with his 10-foot-tall abductors to redirect the lights piercing his eyes, and made a particularly vivid impression of their unfamiliar appearance. So again, this is not, you know, these beings, again, don't fit in with the typical alien grade, do they?
No. But they could be
Why don't you like
but they could be
you,
tall greys, though, couldn't they?
just as remarks here, Paul? Why don't you like that? I see you. I already saw you. You are tall. Your skin is green. Disgusting. And those tips on the sides of your face, those monstrous eyes. Why don't you have a mouth? You only have irons with a net, which give out light. That's his quote. Zanfretta Moretti hypnosis tape. So that's under regression, isn't it?
Only
so
irons with a net. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Which gives out light. Irons with a net. Anyone out there work that one out?
No. I'm not really sure. Irons with a net. I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Okay, the luminous apparatus attached to the mouth seemed to be a translation device that enabled Zanfretta to understand their interrogation. The helmet, an invasive tool used to implant a sort of small chip into a skull for further continued contact. He continued saying that his captors came from the third galaxy and were interested in making contact with us and were expected to return in great numbers. Oh, I don't know. This guy's sounding a little bit like Billy May and Adamski at the stage, isn't he?
That's what I'm saying. What year was it? What year was it again?
I'll never try to coat, did he?
What was
Unlike
the year?
those two.
What was the year again on this one?
Oh, I think it was 5 abductions between 1978 and 1981, I believe.
And of course, that's the heyday for Abductions stuff as well as Billy Meyer stuff, isn't it?
I thought they were both a bit earlier, either. But of course, could have had an influence, yes.
I'm not too sure. Let's have a quick look. George Adamski. Let's see. 65, is it? Is that the guy? Or was that someone else? Ufology circles. Oh, that's him.
Yeah, you can see there that Adamski is
65.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Billy Meyer, I think, died even earlier. You know, but yeah, they left a legacy, so you never know if he picked up on it or whether he generally had experiences of some type. You know.
So this one that he made out of light bulbs, these are 3 light bulbs. General Electric they found on them when they enhanced the negatives. It shows how much detail these old negatives used to contain, where they can blow it up to greater than 4K, 4K pixels back then. So that's 1952. So that's way before this guy. So, but that guy could have got the idea from these ones. Billy Meyer.
Yeah. But he never claimed any photographs. He never tried to create any cult. That's what I'm saying. It's unlikely, isn't it?
There's that guy. He reminds me of Core Bell straight away. So he's born in 1937. He also presented other material during the 1970s. So where's a famous one? Hasn't got a timestamp on it. 65. There you go. Same as the other guy too. The other guy was earlier before this one. So who copied who is the question. Yeah, Billy Meyer was mid 60s to 70s by the looks of it. And he's still going strong. He's got some Michael Horn guy saying it's all real, and we know it's clearly not. So
I know.
We got a chunk there to read out. Continued contact. Do you want to carry on with this one, or you got fed up with it already?
No.
We're losing people now. They're not interested in this.
Paul, I'm trying to read it out. Zanfretta reluctantly endured another 5 instances of contact that plagued him in consistent 6-month intervals after his initial experience. The events were almost identical in every case, following the pattern of disappearance and discovery in strange places. Bewildering his colleagues most of the time, he was found in remote woodland areas, but in one instance, he was found atop a guarded mountain where the posted guards did not witness anyone enter the area through the sole access road. The media was unrelenting and highly sceptical of Zanfretta's continued abductions, and their harassment was hard to avoid. Pierre volunteered for an injection of pentafol, active serum, and he was taken to the International Centre of Medical and Psychological Hypnosis in Milan. He received the drug and confirmed his earlier stories, much to the surprise of the witnesses and the curiosity of the present psychologists. Well, I can only say that if he's lying, he was absolutely convinced of his own lies.
But a lot of people are in ufology, aren't they, though?
Well, it's one thing to believe in everything, Paul. It's another thing to make a story up and keep it up. And under the circumstances that guy was had put himself through, truth serum, or Jesus, you'd probably start laughing and say I made it all up. You would, you know. So I don't know how it's like that.
Or he was what do you call it? MK Ultra. What's that thing called? Mind
control experiments.
Motok, is it? What's
MK
that?
Ultra.
No, what's that word I'm looking for? MONTAK. Where they kidnap kids and put them in this so-called, I'm not sure what it was now, radar dish system, was it? Underneath in the basements. And brainwashed them to be like Manchurian candidates. What's that thing called? Mon something rather. Come on, guys, help me out here. My brain's had it. Montauk.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. Is that the place? Montauk Chronicles. That's the one, I think.
I know what you mean now.
There we go. Well, you weren't much help. I almost had it spelled right there, but anyway. where they kidnap street kids and try to brainwash them to be like super troops or killers or whatever. Which sort of what some people think happened to Oswald. He was actually brainwashed with this technique, and he was actually the shooter. And after he snapped out of it, he doesn't remember a thing. Maybe he said he didn't do it or something. But anyway, that's JFK stuff, so it's not really my my area there. But yeah, so we've still got a bit more to go here. So what do you want to do? Wrap it up or keep on going?
There's not many watching now, is there?
Yeah, and it's getting a bit late for me now. I had to just reboot a router actually on another browser because it's crashed again. I'm waiting for the new replacement to come.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else on that article that you can sum up very quickly so we can wrap up and let the screen?
Well, I mean, there's nothing more really to say than the story is bizarre. Everyone who knew him said he was a genuine person. After the last abduction, after 5, it never happened again. The phenomenon just left as quickly as it came, really. As far as I'm aware, he never made any money from the story. And he actually regretted going public with it in the first place in the end. Well, there we go. And that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That have been abducted or believe they've been abducted and told their story. So, yeah, we can close with that, Paul.
Okay, so we can wrap down now, you reckon?
Sure.
I think that's pretty much it, really. I don't think there's anything here. Hijack regressions, what's that talking about there? Where you can actually implant things in the person's mind, which is basically what I was talking about before, about brainwashing.
Yeah, it's dangerous. You need someone qualified to be doing that.
Legacy, what's that I'm talking about there at the end here? It's funny how I can't select it and read it out. It'll make it a lot easier for us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check out what's behind this page. I can't even right click it. They've got some code there to stop it. Leave your comments. You can't because you...
Yeah,
you can't do anything. It's because the code's been flagged, I think, and Brave is not letting us access the right click for some reason. So what did the comments say about it? Do they like it? I fully believe in ETs. Okay. So that's just one comment. That's all we got. Oh no, 2. What's that one say there?
Joel is a professional visual effect artist working. Oh, right, that's got nothing to do with.
No, nothing to do with the thing. Still to the day, there are some who would agree with his response. What do you think? What was his response? I know you are trying to come more frequently. No, you can't come to Earth. People get scared if they don't look at you. You can't.
If they look at you.
You can't make friendship.
Yeah, so it seems he was, relaying some strange messages. If they were genuine or not, I don't know. His story's not unlike others. But every abduction story is kind of unique, No two are exactly the same.
Twilight Zone.
All that you find is certain themes that run through the whole thing that kind of wakes you up to the fact that something is going on, and these people, they suffer in silence. I mean, they can't go to the sodding GP with the story, can they? Who do they talk to? And then if you go to UFO people, you've got people that want to take in your story, whether it's true or not, so they can use it in their book or do whatever they wish with it, which isn't actually helping the person, is it?
So also here, he's Italian, so this would have been in Italian and it would have been translated to English. It's possible that some of the stuff we're reading here has been mistranslated as well, don't forget that.
Well, this is it. It doesn't matter. You can't never 100% translate something, Paul. Something will get lost in translation every time.
Can you read out that last paragraph there? I think it's important.
Yeah, I didn't think yet. Oh, do you want right the last one? I'll read out all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Pierre Zanfretta's fifth and last physical abduction occurred on August 13th, 1980. He has since retired and taken residence in the hills near Torriglia, close to the remote site of the first abduction, where he's allegedly been in constant contact with the alien beings by means of the mysterious sphere. Okay? He's made regular appearances at the UFO Center Mediterranean conferences. Kufo, speaking out about his continued story of contact.
It sounds like CITD, isn't it? So contact in the desert.
An in-depth investigation on Zanfretta's case was published in the book The Zanfretta Case by author Rino Di Stefano in 1984. Stefano's chronicles from his own investigations in Italy is the most researched account available and has been confirmed by nearly 60 witnesses of aerial phenomena from all over the affected region at the time. Zanfretta's experience leaves a lot of unanswered questions, though, the most basic of which being, what were they doing here? The final excerpt from this hypnosis transcript leaves a hopeful clue. So there's a little bit of
so again, it sounds like contact in the desert sort of stuff happening here, and it's a bit iffy. Hang on, you're cutting out because you're speaking over me. Sounds like contact in the desert where you get a lot of these airheads looking crystals and energy and all that sort of stuff. And to me, he may have had experience, but he's now embellished it, I think, is my gut feeling. Now you can talk. We need a little bell. Ding, ding.
Yeah, I know, yeah, okay. But yeah, sure. Once you start going on that tour, speaking at conferences, because, they pay fairly well. You start to get a little bit concerned. But, because not everyone that goes to a conference is a liar. It's just that it alerts a little bit of suspicion. Well, it should, to be honest, because some people are doing these conference tours, for a living, and it makes you wonder that people do people really want to hear the same story over and over and over again? So maybe you have to come up with something a little bit new to keep yourself on that tour. This is where the danger comes in, where people start adding to the story to keep themselves alive on that tour, It's troubling. I'm sorry, but it is. It's troubling.
Yeah.
But no, this gig that kind of goes in my grey bin. There's no way I'm kicking it into touch. But there's no way I'm say that's 100% genuine,
Can we reduce the font? Oh, yes, I can. So how's that looking? I'll just see if I can fix that where we can. Oh, that's better. I could only do that when I got the magnifier turned off. I'll just fix that at the end of the night here for next time. So I know how to do it. I think we've got it all sorted out now, though. After all that little hassle we had, but yeah, that looks better. That looks like normal size there. I wish they wouldn't put that thing there, though. It's kind of stupid. Why don't they put it down there so you know it's audio only or something? Well, up in the corner here, way out the way. Why is it? It doesn't sort of scale right because they don't make a small window like I do. So anyway, we better wind down now, and my ears are hurting with the headset doing my head in. It's now almost 6 a.m. So I'm gonna have to wind down before my brain blows up.
I'm in better form next week as well. It's horrible being in pain and trying to talk about something, you know.
Now, can you just come on cam at all, just to see how it fits on the screen there?
Yeah, sure. A second, yeah.
In a second? I'll just do it quickly now.
Oh,
yeah, that looks alright. Yep, so we can actually size that properly. I think we got it sorted out there. I'm just going to switch to the end credits now anyway.
Okay.
So, if it's going to let me. There we go. So thanks for joining us, guys. Give it probably an hour or so to process, and then it'll play smoothly. And you know when it's processed by Google, the side chat pops up. So yeah, please like, share, comment on it. All helps since it's free. We don't make any money from this.
Nope.
Here we go. Should be playing music now. Now, at least we tested out the new setup. That's working now. That damn plugin that ruined it for us. Bad code. Good night. Shut down the studio. I wonder where everybody went to though. Lunch?
Oh, jeez, man, it would have been getting ridiculously late for those.
No, it's early in the morning.
I think that science article with the EMF effect put a few off as well.
Oh yeah, scared them off, you reckon?
You've got to try and understand these things, even if you science is boring. Well, you can't fucking do that. Do you know what I mean? If you're trying to understand something, you're trying to understand science, haven't you?
Yeah.